والصلاة والسلام على عبد الله ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين أما بعد. نعم, so we can start with Surah Al-Waaqi'ah بإذن الله تعالى.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم اغفر لنا ولشيخنا وللمستمعين ولجميع المسلمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. قال الله تعالى: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا وقعت الواقعة. When the occurrence occurs.
I think I like the translation of the clear Qur'an better, which is when the inevitable event takes place, because the waqi'ah is something that is definitely going to happen. So what does it mean that when the thing that is definitely going to happen takes place? The day of resurrection. Al-Waaqi'ah is one of the names for the day of resurrection. And the day of resurrection has got different names, right? We call it Yawm al-Deen, Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of Qiyamah, the day of the Deen, Yawm al-Hisab, the day of accounting. It's got a lot of different names that we've heard for it. So one of the names for it is Al-Waaqi'ah, the thing which is certainly going to happen.
لَيْسَ لِوَقَعَتِهَا كَاذِبَةٌ. There is at its occurrence no denial.
Now here, that's a good translation. There is at its occurrence, meaning because a person could say, anyone could deny it right now. Anybody could say there is no resurrection. People say that, atheists say it. People say there's no one's going to resurrect us. But when it actually happens, no one will be able to deny it. That's the meaning of the ayah. لَيْسَ لِوَقَعَتِهَا كَاذِبَةٌ. When it actually happens, nobody is going to be able to deny it.
خَافِضَةٌ رَافِعَةٌ. It will bring down some and raise up others.
And that really is what you have to think about when it comes to the resurrection. All of the standards between people will not count for anything. What I mean by that is, in this world, we have different levels among ourselves. Some people, let's say, whether it's your background, your, call it caste, social level, rich, poor, the standards in this world, whether you have a good name or not a good name, whether you're famous or you're not famous, in this world, these things count. But after Al-Waaqi'ah, after the day of resurrection, that is not what counts. On that day, some people will be raised up high above others, and other people will be brought down very low. So somebody might have been someone of a very high status in this world, like a king, or, for example, someone from a very good background, a very good lineage, or someone very, very wealthy or very, very famous. And Yawm al-Qiyamah, they could be brought down to the bottom of the lowest of the low. And somebody could be someone like the hadith came, madfu'an bil abwab. In this person, when they knock on your door, you say to them, get out of my house. And why did you come to my door? Get away, get away. Any a beggar or a poor person or somebody who is like, you wouldn't even allow them to knock on your door. لو أقسم على الله لأبر. If he swore by Allah, Allah would make something happen for him. And he's so close to Allah, but he's a person that if he came to your door, you wouldn't let him in. That person could be raised up above all of the kings and above all of the famous people and all of the wealthy people. خافضة رافعة. It's a day that is going to lower some people and raise other people up.
إِذَا رُجَّتِ الْأَرْضُ رَجًّا. When the earth is shaken with convulsion.
That's one of the descriptions of what will happen to the earth on that day, and we've heard others as well.
وَبُسَّتِ الْجِبَالُ بَسًّا. And the mountains are broken down, crumbling. فَكَانَتْ هَبَاءً مُنبَثًّا. And become dust dispersing.
Now, it's actually beneficial, it would be good if a person were to gather together all the descriptions of what will happen to the earth and the mountains and the stars and the sun, Yawm al-Qiyamah, because it's not mentioned in one place. We've heard in different ways. So it would be nice if a person actually had some time to gather together the ayat that describe what will happen to the earth يوم تبدل الأرض غير الأرض. Okay, that's one. إذا رجت الأرض رجا, that's one. There's many descriptions of what will happen to the earth, what will happen to the mountains, what will happen to the sky, what will happen to the stars, and so on.
وَكُنْتُمْ أَزْوَاجًا ثَلَاثَةً, and you become of three kinds.
You need three groups of people. So here, it's very important to keep this in mind because the whole surah speaks about these three groups. And the whole of this part of this surah talks about these three groups. And it comes at the end of the surah, and it could be a little bit difficult sometimes for people to understand. So keep these three groups in your mind. By the way, the surah is Makkiyah. It was revealed in the time the Prophet ﷺ was in Makkah.
فَأَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ مَا أَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ. Then the companions of the right. What are the companions of the right? وَأَصْحَابُ الْمَشْأَمَةِ مَا أَصْحَابُ الْمَشْأَمَةِ. And the companions of the left. What are companions of the left?
So the first we've heard about are the people of the right. They are, how excellent are they? That's what it means. Ma ashabul maymana. How amazing, how excellent, how blessed are the people of the right. What does it mean, the people of the right? It could mean the people who are given their book in their right hand. Because we know there are two groups of people when it comes to where they are given their record. So a group of people are given their record in their right hand. And a group of people are given their record in their left hand and in other places behind their back. Now the scholars differed how to reconcile between those last two. Some of them said certain disbelievers will be given it in the left hand and others behind their back. For example, the munafiq, the hypocrite, behind their back. Some of them said this, meaning that the distinction between the left hand and behind the back is between the one who is openly doesn't believe and the one who is a hypocrite. And others said, no, the two come together, meaning in the left hand, behind the back, together. With the left hand and behind the back. And some of them join together like that. But the ones who are on the right are those who are given their book in their right hand. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ. As for the one who is given his book in his right hand. And they are أَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ, the people of the right hand side. And as for the people, it could also mean that they are just generally blessed, or the people of, the ones who will enter paradise. And the people of al-mash'amah, the left hand side, those who are given their book in their left hand, how terrible will those people be?
وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ. And the forerunners.
Now these are the people who are separate. Now that means that this surah distinguishes between two groups of people. Both of them are from the people of Jannah, the people of paradise. One of them gets their book in their right hand generally. The other one also gets their book in their right hand. But the difference between them is one of them are as-sabiqun, the people who raced ahead in this world. So they will race ahead in the next. How did they race ahead in this world? We've already mentioned it. Where did we mention it before? We mentioned it. فَمِنْهُمْ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ وَمِنْهُمْ مُقْتَصِدٌ وَمِنْهُمْ سَابِقٌ بِالْخَيْرَاتِ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. We mentioned it in the ayah, فَمِنْهُمْ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ. Some of the servants oppress themselves. وَمِنْهُمْ مُقْتَصِدٌ. And some of them do what they have to do. We said the muqtasid is the one who, they do what they have to do. They keep away from what's haram and they do what they have to do. وَمِنْهُمْ سَابِقٌ بِالْخَيْرَاتِ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. And from them are those who are much ahead of everybody else. So that division, which surah did it come in? I'm not asking as a test, I'm asking like that. Do you remember which surah it came in? نعم. فَمِنْهُمْ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ وَمِنْهُمْ مُقْتَصِدٌ. It came in Surah Fatir. So this is the same division mentioned in Surah Al-Waaqi'ah. The three. That there are people who have done wrong to themselves. And there are people who do what they have to do. They do what's needed. They do what they have to do. They do the minimum what they have to do. And they keep away from what is not allowed. They do their basic prayers they have to do, but they're not doing anything more than that. And some of them are racing ahead in doing good, meaning that they are not just doing the minimum, they're going to do more and more in every area of the religion. They're doing more than the basics. They're racing ahead, more prayers than other people, more fasting than other people, more charity than other people. They're doing seeking knowledge more than what other people are seeking. Everyone has to seek knowledge, right? Everyone has to know the basics of the religion, how to pray, how to make wudu, what's the basic things we believe in. Everyone knows the basics. But there are some people who dedicated themselves to learn more than the basics. Those people in every area, they are as-sabiqun as-sabiqun. And they are the people who are racing ahead. Now here the ayah has two possible meanings. One is that Allah is mentioning how virtuous they are. As-sabiqun as-sabiqun. And how virtuous are those people. And it's mentioned for emphasis. But many of them said it's not mentioned for emphasis here. It's a complete sentence. As-sabiqun hum as-sabiqun. Yani as-sabiqun fi dunya hum as-sabiqun fil akhirah. The people who are racing ahead in the dunya are the people who are racing ahead in the akhirah. Some of them, and in fact all three of the translations we're looking at took it like that. They took it as a complete sentence, not as a repetition for emphasis, but they took it as a full sentence. As-sabiqun hum as-sabiqun. The people who race ahead in this world are the ones who will race ahead in the hereafter.
أولئك المقربون. Those are the ones brought near to Allah.
And they are brought near to Allah, and they are nearer than others because of how they raced ahead in this world.
في جنات النعيم. In the gardens of pleasure.
And in other words, they are in the part of paradise that there is nothing above them. And they're in al-Firdaus al-A'la min al-Jannah, the highest place of paradise, above which is the throne of the most merciful. That's where they are.
ثلة من الأولين. A large company of the former peoples.
Now what does it mean of the former peoples here? As-Sa'diyu, rahimahullah ta'ala, takes the view that it refers to this ummah as well as the nations before. This ummah and the nations before. Meaning that a large group of the early people to accept Islam will be from the Sabiqun. Does that make sense? And if we look at the earliest people to accept Islam from the Sahaba, many of them will be from as-sabiqun, from the people who are far ahead. And likewise, as Sa'di mentions, from the other generations as well, yani from the people who came before, the earliest people to accept the da'wah of the Prophets, ﷺ, they were from the sabiqun.
وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنَ الْآخِرِينَ. And a few of the later peoples.
And that shows the virtue of the Sahaba over those who came after them. Because Allah says a large group of the early people will be those people who are raced ahead, but only a few people from the later generations will be from the people who raced ahead. But that also tells you that the door is not closed for you. You cannot say the door is closed. You cannot be from the people who race ahead in doing good and there's no hope for you. You're just going to be from the regular people who barely get into Jannah and the last one in Jannah. It's not like that. But if you compare the early people to the later people, no doubt, the earlier the people came in Islam, the early generations, خَيْرُ الْقُرُونِ قَرْنِ ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, the best generation is my generation, then those who follow them, then those who follow them. So there's no doubt that the earlier people who accepted Islam, and this works whatever level you look at it. Meaning if you look at the Sahaba, the early Sahaba have a virtue over the later Sahaba. And if you look at the generations, the Sahaba have a virtue over the Tabi'een. And if you look at the whole Ummah, the early three generations have a virtue over everyone else. So generally, the earliest people to race to accept Islam, and the people who were at the beginning of the time of Islam, those people have got more virtue and are going to be generally, as a whole, in a higher place in paradise than those who came after them. However, the door is not closed. There will be people from those who came afterwards who will be from as-sabiqun, the people who raced ahead. But they are few in comparison to those early people. And that's easy to see. And that is not difficult to see. Open your eyes and look around. How was the time of the Prophet ﷺ? And they said if a person didn't come to Fajr, we considered him a hypocrite. Now, if a person came to Fajr, we consider him to be a wali. We think he's from the high people in the sight of Allah. Leave tahajjud. If he came for Fajr prayer, we consider him to be very high up. Like in those days, everybody came. If you didn't come, you were considered to be a hypocrite. And we used to say openly, he's a munafiq. And subhanAllah, the times have changed. The knowledge has changed. If you want to know about how knowledge has changed, read the book of Ibn Rajab. It's translated in English. It's called Fadlu ilm al-salaf ala ilm al-khalaf. The virtue of the knowledge of the older people over the later people. But it's not in English. The title is called something like, I can't remember what the title is, something to do with knowledge by Ibn Rajab. It's just called something like, not etiquette of knowledge or something like that. But if you look in the back, the title of it in Arabic, is printed on the back cover, is Fadlu ilm al-salaf ala ilm al-khalaf. The virtue of the knowledge of the earlier people over the later people. You can see clearly the barakah, the ease with which they learnt Islam, the sincerity they had, all of that is not present in the later people, except for a very small number. But there is something to bear in mind here, that if you can be from that small number, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from as-sabiqeen, all of us. If we can be from that small number, the reward is greater, generally speaking. The reward is greater comparatively than other people's reward. You can't beat being a Sahabi. Being a Sahabi will always be number one. But my point is that the equivalent reward you get is very great when you practice Islam in a time when other people are not practicing it. And that's because if you imagine living, let's leave the Sahaba aside. You imagine living in the time of the Tabi'een, where most people are practicing their religion properly. That's fair to say. Most people, the majority of people are practicing the religion properly according to the Sunnah and so on. There's a certain ease in that. Not to take anything away from them, because they were better than us, no doubt. But there's a certain ease in it, right? There's a certain comfort in seeing everybody doing it. But when you are the only one who does something, or the only few people who do something, then you have something that other people don't have. So you get rewarded for that. Like when the Prophet ﷺ said, "Bada al-Islamu ghariban wa sayaudu ghariban kama bada, fatuba lil ghuraba." He said Islam began as something strange, and it will return to being strange like it began. So in the early days when a few people accepted Islam, it was very unusual, right? We're not talking about when there were thousands and thousands of people. In the early days, it was unusual. Now, when you practice Islam properly, you might also find that people see you as being unusual. Like, why are you practicing Islam like that? Like, why are you so strict on yourself? People say these things. So just like the early people got a special reward, so will the later people who live in a time when Islam became strange get a great reward. But nothing will be ever equal to being a companion of the Prophet ﷺ. That's how we join between the adillah. Because there are some hadith that mention the reward being greater for the people who came at the end. Some hadith mention the reward being greater for those people who came at the end when Islam became strange. But that has to be ma'ada as-suhbah. That has to be taken without companionship. The companionship has to always be better. Because there is consensus that the Sahaba, all of them, are better than everyone who came after them.
على سرر موضونة On thrones woven with ornament.
On thrones, now woven with ornament. Now jeweled thrones, thrones covered in jewels.
متكئين عليها متقابلين. Reclining on them, facing each other. يطوف عليهم ولدان مخلدون. They will circulate among them young boys made eternal.
Now, I wanted to speak to you actually. I'll make a note of it. I don't have the notes with me at this moment in time. But I wanted to, I'll just highlight it for later. To mention to you about the views of the scholars regarding the wildan. Where did they come from? Are they a creation that Allah created them only for Jannah? Or are they from the people, somehow of the people of this world? Like for example, the children of the kuffar that died before puberty. And there's a discussion about it. So I'll bring you what the scholars said. I made a list of things. My plan would be that in the last lesson, after we finish the end of the Qur'an, I would have one more lesson and I will bring you the issues that we said we'll speak more about, because there's a discussion among the scholars about where or who are these group of servant boys? Where did they come from? Because for example, there are some people who are created only to be from the people of Jannah. For example, the hur. The hur are not from the women of this world. The hur are created only to be from the people of Jannah. They've never known anything other than Jannah. So are the wildan like the hur? They were only created for that? Or are they from some people that had a life prior to their life in Jannah? We'll bring the discussion among the scholars and the views of them about it, inshallah ta'ala.
بأكواب وأباريق وكأس من معين. With vessels, pitchers and a cup of wine from a flowing spring.
And we said that these any pitchers means like a jug. A pitcher is like a jug. If you don't understand, sometimes the words might be difficult to understand, but the word pitcher, this abariq, is like a jug. And a cup of wine, we said there are two benefits to that. First of all, the wine, why are you allowed to drink wine in paradise? You didn't drink wine in this world. And you kept away from alcohol in this world, and you were given the wine of paradise. But the wine of paradise is not like the alcohol of this world. You don't lose your mind from it. You don't get a hangover from it. You don't become evil because of it.
لا يصدعون عنها ولا ينزفون. No headache will they have therefrom, nor will they be intoxicated.
No.
وفاكهة مما يتخيرون. And fruit of what they select.
Any fruit that they choose.
ولحم طير مما يشتهون. And the meat of fowl from whatever they desire.
Now, fowl means a bird, the meat of the birds of paradise. That's what it means. Lahmi tayr is the meat of the birds of paradise. Sometimes they use difficult words like English words that we might not be familiar with, like the word fowl is the meat of the bird.
وحور عين. And for them are fair women with large beautiful eyes.
No.
كأمثال اللؤلؤ المكنون. The likeness of pearls well protected.
And pearls well protected. Pearls in the beauty, the beauty of the women is like the beauty of the pearls. And they're protected because they are in those protected حور مقصورات في الخيام. They're in these protected pavilions, in places where they can't be seen by others.
جزاء بما كانوا يعملون. As reward for what they used to do.
Yeah.
لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا تأثيما. They will not hear therein ill speech or commission of sin.
Now, al-laghu is any kind of ill speech. So that could be false talk, evil talk, bad words, bad language, none of that. And there will be no sin that will happen. Either sinful speech like backbiting or even sin in general. But a lot of them said ta'thiman here is to do with speech. So the mean ta'theem here, it means no sinful speech. So if we have al-laghu and we have sinful speech, what's the difference between them? If both of them are speech, what's the difference between al-laghu and at-ta'theem? If both of them are sinful speech, if both of them are, and if ta'theem is sinful speech. So laghu is like wasting your time. Like they will not have any idle, like foolish speech. People talk like foolish things, nor will they commit any sin in what they say. So there won't be any sin in what they say, and there won't be any foolishness in what they say. That's close to the meaning.
إِلَّا قِيلًا سَلَامًا سَلَامًا. Only a saying of peace, or only a saying of salam.
Salam. Naam. Here, the meaning of salam and salama here, does it mean that the only words that will be said by the people of Jannah are salam? A lot of them said, As-Sa'di takes the same view as the clear Qur'an here, that the meaning of salam here is all kinds of good speech. Yani the speech which is salim min ma dhukir. It's free of what was mentioned before. It doesn't have any, because what does the word salam in the first place mean? It means the thing which is free of imperfections and flaws. When you say assalamu alaikum, then may Allah keep you safe from flaws and that which will hurt you and harm you. So illa qilan salaman salama doesn't mean the only words they will say is salam. It means that their words will be salam, meaning they will be free of anything which would bring them harm, or anything which would bring them sin, or anything which would bring them hardship or problems. They'll be free of all of that. Backbiting, ill speech, any foolish speech, all of that, they will be free from it. And that's why the word salam, you have to be careful about translating it as peace, peace, because it doesn't always necessarily mean that. Even though some of them took that, salam and salama, they took it meaning that the people of Jannah will say salam to each other, which is true, because it came like that in some of the other ayat. Salamun alaykum bima sabartum. Peace be upon you because of your sabr, your patience. But here some of them took it more generally. Salam and salama, and is the speech which is free of flaws and free of sin and things like that.
وَأَصْحَابُ الْيَمِينِ مَا أَصْحَابُ الْيَمِينِ. The companions of the right. What are the companions of the right?
And the companions of the right includes the people on the right, and it also includes the sabiqun, because all of them are from Ashabul Yameen. They're all from the companions, because the people are only two types, the people of the right and the people of the left. But among the people of the right, there are as-sabiqun, and there are the people who are al-muqtasid, yani the one who is doing what they have to do. And then there are people who are racing ahead.
في سدر مخضود. They will be among lote trees.
Lote trees.
Lote trees with thorns removed.
In the lote tree, the sidr tree, is a beautiful tree, but it's thorny. And it's a tree which has a lot of benefit to it, but it's thorny. But this tree, the tree of the sidr in Jannah, does not have the thorns that it has in this world.
وَطَلْحٍ مَنْضُودٍ. And banana trees layered with fruit.
But those banana trees are not like the trees of this world.
وَظِلٍّ مَمْدُودٍ. And shade extended.
Let me see, what did... Not all of them said it was the banana tree, by the way, for Talh. Talh. As-Sa'di, he says, At-Talhu ma'ruf. And he mentions it, that it's from the trees that grows in the Badia. But it doesn't always have to necessarily, Allahu A'lam, be the banana tree. Like in all of them, all of the translations brought it as the banana tree. The main thing is, even if we say it's the banana tree, it's not the banana of this world.
وَمَاءٍ مَسْكُوبٍ. And water poured out.
And he poured out for them. They won't have to serve themselves. They won't have to go and bring their own water. The water will be poured out for them.
وَفَاكِهَةٍ كَثِيرَةٍ, and fruit abundant and varied.
No.
لَا مَقْطُوعَةٍ وَلَا مَمْنُوعَةٍ, neither limited to season nor forbidden.
So when it says abundant and varied, why is they put and varied here? Because of two views in the ayah, that kathira can mean kathirat, like there's lots of it, and it can also mean there's many types of it. La maqtu'a, it's not limited to the season, where in this world we only get the fruit in the season. You only get the fruit at a certain time of year. Wala mamnu'a, and it won't be far from people's reach.
وَفُرُشٍ مَرْفُوعَةٍ, and upon beds raised high.
Beds or couches or thrones, all of them, they had the same, the meaning is similar.
إِنَّا أَنشَأْنَاهُنَّ إِنشَاءً, indeed we have produced them in a new creation.
Now, the women of paradise, that's what the meaning is here. Indeed, we have produced the women of paradise, the hur, in a new creation, meaning they were not, the hur were not from the people who were in this, they were not from the women of this world. And he said, أنشأنا نساء أهل الجنة نشأة غير النشأة التي كانت في الدنيا. So As-Sa'di takes it wider than that. He doesn't take it as the view of the hur here. As-Sa'di, he says, the women of paradise, all of them, will not be like the women of this world. The women of paradise will not be like the women of this world.
فَجَعَلْنَاهُنَّ أَبْكَارًا, and made them virgins. عُرُبًا أَتْرَابًا, devoted to their husbands and of equal age.
And he's not looking at anyone else now. لأصحاب اليمين.
لأصحاب اليمين, for the companions of the right who are.
Now you don't need who are here. It's enough to say for the companions of the right.
ثُلَّةٌ مِّنَ الْأَوَّلِينَ, a company of the former peoples.
A multitude. There'll be a large number from the early people.
وَثُلَّةٌ مِّنَ الْآخِرِينَ, and a company of the later people.
And a large number of the later people. So here, what's the difference between what was mentioned earlier? When Allah spoke about the ones who raised the head, He mentioned that there were very few of the later people. But when He mentioned the people of Jannah, generally, yes, there are people of Jannah. In every age, there were people of Jannah. Even among the early people, among the later people, there were many people of Jannah. But the people who achieved the highest places in Jannah, those people were very limited in the later generations.
وَأَصْحَابُ الشِّمَالِ مَا أَصْحَابُ الشِّمَالِ, and the companions of the left, what are the companions of the left? فِي سَمُومٍ وَحَمِيمٍ, they will be in scorching fire and scalding water. وَظِلٍّ مِّن يَحْمُومٍ, and a shade of black smoke.
Now the shade that shades them is black smoke. It's not something that shades them with benefit. It's not like a nice shade that gives them relief. For example, different things could shade you. Okay? So for example, if you imagine now, let's say it's hot outside, and you have a shade of a tree, and maybe there's a spring next to it. It's nice and cool, and it's nice and refreshing, and it's a nice place to be. But then imagine, for example, that there was a volcanic eruption and the smoke came over the sky and people were coughing from the smoke. Now, the both of them are shade, but one of them is a shade that you enjoy and one of them is a shade that you hate. So the shade of the people of the hellfire will be from that which they hate.
لا بارد ولا كريم, neither cool nor beneficial.
I think pleasant might be a good word for kareem here. Neither cool nor pleasant.
إنهم كانوا قبل ذلك مترفين, Indeed, they were before that indulging in affluence.
Affluence. So this describes how were the people of the hellfire before. Many of them were affluent. Many of them were rich. Many of them were powerful. Many of them were enjoying their life in this world so much. They were enjoying their life in this world like you cannot imagine. They had enjoyment, luxury, they had money, they had power, they had what they want.
وَكَانُوا يُصِرُّونَ عَلَى الْحِنثِ الْعَظِيمِ. And they used to persist in the great violation.
In making a partner with Allah.
وَكَانُوا يَقُولُونَ أَإِذَا مِتْنَا وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا وَعِظَامًا أَإِنَّا لَمَبْعُوثُونَ. And they used to say, when we die and become dust and bones, are we indeed to be resurrected? أَوَآبَاؤُنَا الْأَوَّلُونَ. And our forefathers as well. قُلْ إِنَّ الْأَوَّلِينَ وَالْآخِرِينَ. Say, O Muhammad, indeed the former and later peoples. لَمَجْمُوعُونَ إِلَى مِيقَاتِ يَوْمٍ مَعْلُومٍ. Are to be gathered together for the appointment of a known day.
Which is the day of resurrection, Al-Waaqi'ah.
ثُمَّ إِنَّكُمْ أَيُّهَا الضَّالُّونَ الْمُكَذِّبُونَ. Then indeed you are those astray who are deniers.
Now read it again. Then
indeed you, those astray who are deniers.
Now, but it's not saying you are deniers here. It's calling out to them, all you people who deny, who are astray and who deny.
لَآكِلُونَ مِنْ شَجَرٍ مِنْ زَقُّومٍ. Will be eating from trees of Zaqqum,
which we've already spoken about.
فَمَالِئُونَ مِنْهَا الْبُطُونَ. And filling with it your bellies. فَشَارِبُونَ عَلَيْهِ مِنَ الْحَمِيمِ. And drinking on top of it from scalding water. فَشَارِبُونَ شُرْبَ الْحِيمِ. And will drink as the drinking of thirsty camels.
SubhanAllah, when you think about that, they've eaten the most poisonous tree that anyone can eat. And it's cutting up them from inside. And then they drink scalding water the way that the thirsty camel drinks. And they don't pause, they drink it and they drink it and they drink it, even though it's melting the skin from their face.
هَذَا نُزُلُهُمْ يَوْمَ الدِّينِ. That is their accommodation on the day of recompense.
That's what will be nuzuluhum. Here, the nuzul we said is what is prepared for the guest. But it's used here in a way of rebuke. So normally a nuzul is something good. Like the people, we've prepared for you paradise, and we've prepared for you trees, and we've prepared for you fruits. What have we prepared for the people who disbelieved? This is what has been prepared for them. So it's said like a rebuke, as something which is negative, not positive.
نحن خلقناكم فلولا تصدقون. We have created you, so why do you not believe?
And now comes another set of ayat which bring adillatun shar'iyyatun aqliyah, evidences which are from the Qur'an, but they speak to a person in terms of logic, and a person can understand them in a very logical way.
أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا تُمْنُونَ. Have you seen that which you emit?
That which is the al-ma' al-mahin, the liquid which is something disdained. And in other words, that which comes out from a person, from their private parts, from which a person is born.
أَأَنْتُمْ تَخْلُقُونَهُ أَمْ نَحْنُ الْخَالِقُونَ. Is it you who creates it, or are we the creator?
And is it you who makes a child out of it, or are we the ones who make a child out of it?
نحن قدرنا بينكم الموت وما نحن بمسبوقين. We have decreed death among you and we are not to be outdone.
Any death will come to every single person. Now, we've decreed death that all of you will die. And that we are not to be outdone comes to the next ayah.
على أن نبدل أمثالكم وننشئكم فيما لا تعلمون. In that we will change your likenesses, right? And produce you in that form which you do not know.
There's some difference of opinion about what that means. But first of all, what does it tell us? It tells us about the hereafter. The one that created you from this drop of liquid is the one who is able to resurrect you in the hereafter and produce you in a form that you do not know. Some of them mentioned to put you into the hereafter in a way you do not know. When you come in the hereafter, how will you come? You will not be in the form you are in this dunya. And you will in paradise or in the fire, you will not be in the form that you were in this world. That's one of the views regarding it. I want to see what Sa'di said about it. But he didn't say much more than that. Some of them said that others will come on the earth after you, which you do not know. We're not talking about after the day of resurrection, but we're talking about you die and other people come on the earth after you, which you do not know. That's another view regarding the ayah.
وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمُ النَّشْأَةَ الْأُولَى فَلَوْلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. And you've already known the first creation, so will you not remember?
And you already know how Adam was created from dust and clay. So now will you not remember how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised you and told you you'll be resurrected on the day of judgment?
أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا تَحْرُثُونَ. And have you not seen that seed which you sow?
No. The seed which you put in the ground, the farmer, when you put the seed in the ground.
أَأَنْتُمْ تَزْرَعُونَهُ أَمْ نَحْنُ الزَّارِعُونَ. Is it you who makes it grow or are we the grower?
Now this is another very logical argument. When you put the seed in the ground, if it's you that makes it grow, why is it that some grow and some don't? Why is it that your seeds, some of them turn to ruin? Why is it that plagues come or insects come? Or you're not the one who controls it.
لو نشاء لجعلناه حطاما فظلتم تفكهون. If we willed, we could make it dry debris and you would remain in wonder.
And you would be in a state of shock or in a state of regret over what happened when your crops were ruined.
إِنَّا لَمُغْرَمُونَ. Saying, indeed, we are now in debt.
And in other words, we are either ruined or we've lost the money that we invested in growing the crops. We lost mughramun, and we became in debt because we lost. So there's different views regarding the ayah, but they're very, very similar. The idea is we became in a state of loss because when the crops were ruined, we lost all the money we spent on it and all the efforts we made for it. And now we have to use money to buy crops from other people to be able to feed ourselves. So, mughramun, in a state of financial ruin.
بَلْ نَحْنُ مَحْرُومُونَ. Rather, we have been deprived.
Deprived of good or deprived of our livelihood.
أَفَرَأَيْتُمُ الْمَاءَ الَّذِي تَشْرَبُونَ. And have you not seen the water that you drink?
No.
أأنتم أنزلتموه من المزن أم نحن المنزلون. Is it you who brought it down from the clouds or is it we who bring it down?
No.
لو نشاء جعلناه أجاجا فلولا تشكرون. If we willed, we could make it bitter. So why are you not grateful?
I think better than bitter would say we could make it salty or we could make it undrinkable. So will you not be grateful?
أفرأيتم النار التي تورون. And have you seen the fire that you ignite?
No.
أأنتم أنشأتم شجرتها أم نحن المنشئون. Is it you who produced its tree, or are we the producer?
The fire that you light, you take it from the trees, the branches from the wood. Where did you take the wood from? Did you make the tree grow? Or is it Allah that made the tree grow?
نحن جعلناها تذكرة ومتاعا للمقوين. We have made it a reminder and provision for the travelers.
A reminder, meaning the fire of this world reminds you of the fire of the hereafter. We said, for example, when you come near to the fire in this world, let's just say any fire, the fire in the house, you lit a fire in the fireplace, or you lit a fire outside, like a campfire. When you come near to it, even you come like 1 meter away, the heat of it is burning your face. And it reminds you that you cannot stand, you could not bear the fire in the hereafter, which is 70 times hotter than the fire in this world. You couldn't manage it, you couldn't stand it. And it's a provision for the travelers. Here they say the traveler is mentioned specifically because of the convenience for them. But otherwise, it's a provision for everyone. So why is the traveler here mentioned besides others? Because of the extra convenience that is given to the traveler. The traveler who has to bring gets the firewood and then can light the fire. Imagine if the traveler had to carry with them all of that provision with them on their journey. It'd be very, very hard. If you had to carry all this provision for heat and for warmth and for cooking and everything on your journey. So Allah made it easy for them. By when they settle in a place, they find the firewood by which they make a fire. Otherwise, it's a provision for everyone. But the traveler is mentioned because the ni'mah, the blessing for the traveler is greater and more obvious than the blessing for the person who is at home.
فَسَبِّحْ بِاسْمِ رَبِّكَ الْعَظِيمِ. So exalt the name of your Lord, the most great.
In other words, say, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. That's what the ayah means. Say, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. When do you say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim? In your ruku'.
فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَوَاقِعِ النُّجُومِ. Then I swear by the setting of the stars. وَإِنَّهُ لَقَسَمٌ لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ. And indeed, it is an oath if you could know a most great.
And because a person who knows the greatness of the stars, meaning, if you look now scientifically at the universe, the stars, you actually see that these tiny dots in the sky are actually something very huge, if you only knew about it. Rather, they say some of them are bigger, or many of them are bigger and more powerful even than the sun. But they appear to us as something very small. Like if you knew the greatness of the galaxies and the stars, you would know how great this oath is that Allah swore by, Mawaqi' al-Nujum, the position or the setting of the stars, or the position of the stars in the sky.
إِنَّهُ لَقُرْآنٌ كَرِيمٌ. Indeed, it is a noble Qur'an.
No.
فِي كِتَابٍ مَكْنُونٍ. In a register well protected.
In the Lawh al-Mahfuz.
لا يمسه إلا المطهرون. None touch it except the purified.
So now here comes a very interesting question with regard to this ayah. What's the question? From a tafseer point of view, that's a fiqh question. Are we allowed to touch the Qur'an without wudu? What's the tafseer question?
Is it referring to this Mus'haf?
Very good. Is this ayah referring to the Qur'an or referring to the Lawh al-Mahfuz? What evidence do we have to support one or the other? So what's the difference? If the ayah is referring to a Lawh al-Mahfuz, it means no one touches the preserved tablet except the angels. If the ayah is referring to the Qur'an, it means no one is allowed to touch the copy of the Qur'an except the pure. And then from the pure, we can break it into two types, spiritually pure and physically pure. So spiritually pure means the Muslim, and physically pure meaning the Muslim who has made ablution. So then that makes for us three views. No one touches the Lawh al-Mahfuz except the angels. Or no one touches the Mus'haf except a Muslim, or no one touches the Mus'haf except a Muslim with wudu. And the majority of the scholars took that no Muslim can touch the Mus'haf without ablution. They took the third view. However, what can we use, or what did they use to support one or the other? First of all, the general ruling is that a pronoun refers to the closest mentioned thing. So actually, fi kitabin maknoon, if that refers to the Lawh al-Mahfuz, then the closest mentioned thing is the Lawh al-Mahfuz, the preserved tablet. There's another evidence that they use, which is that this word mutahharun is not usually used for people. Mutahharun. What is normally used for people? A similar word than that. Think about Surah Al-Baqarah. Inna Allah yuhibbu al-tawwabin wa yuhibbu al-mutatahhirin. So normally Allah usually for people uses mutatahhir, for people who make ablution, with an extra ta in it. Mutatahhir, for the person who makes ablution. Normally, there's an ayah in Surah At-Tawbah. فيه رجال يحبون أن يتطهروا والله يحب المطهرين. The ayah in Surah At-Tawbah is something to be discussed. But generally speaking, let me just check if I'm not mistaken about it. نعم والله يحب المطهرين. But here even the ayah in Surah At-Tawbah came with يتطهر, with the extra ta in it. So generally speaking, from the arguments that are used for it is that when Allah speaks about wudu, He normally speaks about it with the extra ta, mutatahhir, the person who purifies themselves. But mutahhir is someone who is inherently pure, meaning that they are pure to begin with. So from this, it seems that the ayah refers to the angels. However, my advice is, bearing in mind that it is qawlul jumhur, the vast majority of the scholars, jamahir wa ahl al-ilm, they held the view that you shouldn't touch the mushaf without wudu. This is the safer view. This is the safer view. Salam wa barakatuh. This is a safer view. Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, لا يمس القرآن إلا الملائكة الكرام الذين طهرهم الله تعالى من الآفات والذنوب والعيوب. وإذا كان لا يمسه إلا المطهرون وأن أهل الخبث والشياطين لا استطاعة لهم ولا يدان إلى مسه، دلت الآية على أنه لا يجوز أن يمس القرآن إلا طاهر. So As-Sa'di, as some of them did, he actually takes the view that the ayah refers to the angels. But what does he do? He says the fact that the angels only touch it is a proof that you can only touch it with wudu. So that's another way of looking at it. So he says, no, the ayah doesn't refer to the Qur'an. The ayah refers to the angels and the Lawh al-Mahfuz. But the fact that the angels are only allowed to touch it because they are pure proves that a Muslim should be pure to touch the Qur'an. But still you have the issue of mutahhir and mutahhar and mutatahhir. One who Allah made pure and one who purifies themselves. فَعَلَى كُلِّ حَالٍ, there's a khilaf on the issue, but the vast majority of the scholars held one way or another that you should have wudu to touch the mushaf, the copy of the Qur'an, and that's the safer view, no doubt. It's the safer view. But as for reading the Qur'an, then this is not a requirement. Any tahara is not a requirement for reading the Qur'an. The Prophet ﷺ used to remember Allah in every situation. It's recommended if you can make wudu before you read the Qur'an, it's better. But it's not a requirement. So you can read the Qur'an without wudu. Then the issue comes, can you read the Qur'an in a state of janaba? Many of the scholars, they held the view you can't read it in the state of janaba. But then there comes a third question. Is there qiyas between the janaba and the haid, the woman who is on her menses? The answer is no, there's no qiyas here. Because qiyas ma'al fariq. First of all, even the issue of janaba is not necessarily agreed upon among the scholars. Not all the scholars agree on the issue of not reading the Qur'an in janaba. But let's just say that we take that as the view. There's no qiyas between janaba and between the woman in state of menses. Because janaba can be removed at any time. Anyone can go in the shower and you can bathe yourself. You can take a shower anytime. But she cannot remove that impurity for that duration of the month. So there's no qiyas upon it. So she's not prohibited from reading the Qur'an. She's prohibited from touching the mushaf to be safe. But she's not prohibited from qira'at al-Qur'an or tilawat al-Qur'an. And that's a very weak view to say that she's prohibited. And the reason it's weak is it's based on three principles. All of them are weak. In the first place, the issue of janaba is not necessarily proven. Then on top of that, she is not comparable to the situation of janaba. And then on top of that, we're not even talking about the issue of touching the mushaf here. We're talking about, we said the ayah here doesn't refer to touching the mushaf. For there's all of those, there's no real basis to stop her from reciting the Qur'an. The strong view is she can recite the Qur'an, but she just can't touch the mushaf as the person in janaba can't touch the mushaf, as the person without wudu cannot touch the mushaf to be safe.
تنزيل من رب العالمين. It is a revelation from the Lord of the worlds.
نعم.
أفبهذا الحديث أنتم مدهنون. Then is it to this statement that you are indifferent?
Now, are you taking this Qur'an lightly? Are you taking it something that you don't care about it?
وَتَجْعَلُونَ رِزْقَكُمْ أَنَّكُمْ تُكَذِّبُونَ. And make the thanks for your provision that you deny the provider.
Now here this ayah came with regard to those people who believed in the provision coming from the stars. They believed that the stars have an effect on your rizq. They believed the stars had an effect. Now they didn't believe the star is actually the one who is Ar-Razzaq. They believed that Allah is Ar-Razzaq. But they believed that the stars were a reason for provision. وَتَجْعَلُونَ رِزْقَكُمْ أَنَّكُمْ تُكَذِّبُونَ. You make the thanks for your provision that you believe in the stars and you don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as Muslims, we don't have any belief in the stars except for three things. What are the belief in the stars? زِينَةً لِلسَّمَاءِ, decoration for the heavens. رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينَ, to stone the shaitan. And to guide, وَهُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُمُ النُّجُومَ لِتَهْتَدُوا فِيهَا فِي ظُلُمَاتِ الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. For you to be guided on the heavens and when you're traveling in the sea and on the earth. So the stars came for three reasons: to show you the direction of travel, for a decoration for the sky, and to shoot the shayateen. They didn't come because of your rizq. They didn't come with horoscopes. They didn't come to tell you who you're going to be in love with or not in love with, or what's going to happen to you tomorrow or not going to happen to you tomorrow. So everything apart from those three things that we mentioned, the navigation and decoration for the sky and shooting the shaitan, all of these, anything else comes under this ayah. وَتَجْعَلُونَ رِزْقَكُمْ أَنَّكُمْ تُكَذِّبُونَ. How can you deny Allah and believe in the stars?
فَلَوْلَا إِذَا بَلَغَتِ الْحُلْقُومِ. Then why, when it reaches the throat?
When the soul reaches the throat at the time of death.
وَأَنْتُمْ حِينَئِذٍ تَنْظُرُونَ. And you are at that time looking on.
So what does it mean? Why do you not intervene? Why don't you stop the person? If you people are the ones in control, and if you say that there's no resurrection, all you have to do is one thing: stop the person from dying who dies in front of you. The person who is dying, just put their soul back into their body if you can do it. But they can't do it. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to them, why are you not able to intervene? Why are you not able to help when the dying person is about to die? Why can't you put their soul back into their body if the situation is like you people say?
وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْكُمْ وَلَكِنْ لَا تُبْصِرُونَ. And we are nearer to him than you, but you do not see.
Now, we are nearer to him than you, but you do not see. I'll read to you what Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala said about it. We are closer by our knowledge and our angels. And that is a good joining between the ayah, because some people said it just refers to the angels. But actually, in reality, it doesn't have to just refer to the angels. It can refer to Allah. But when it refers to Allah, the qurb, the nearness, is a nearness of knowledge and hearing and sight, not a physical nearness. Not that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inside of him. No, Allah is separate from his creation. So it means that Allah is near by his knowledge, by his sight, by his hearing, and that the angels are nearer than you. Both of them come together.
فَلَوْلَا إِن كُنْتُمْ غَيْرَ مَدِينِينَ. Then why do you not, if you are not to be recompensed?
And if there's no resurrection, why don't you?
Huh?
That's why don't you, ... Now the next ayah.
تَرْجِعُونَهَا إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Bring it back if you should be truthful.
And he put the soul back into the body if you can. So this is linked to resurrection. And if you people say there's no resurrection, then all you have to do is to take the soul and put it back into the body. But you can't take it and put it back into the body, and you can't bring that person back to life. Just like they can't escape death, you will not escape resurrection.
فَأَمَّا إِن كَانَ مِنَ الْمُقَرَّبِينَ. And if he was of those brought near to Allah.
Now, from the muqarrabeen are from as-sabiqun, as-sabiqun. Because what was the ayah in the beginning of the surah? وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. They are al-muqarrabun. So now this comes back to as-sabiqun, as-sabiqun. If this person was from the muqarrabeen, yani from the sabiqeen.
فَرَوْحٌ وَرَيْحَانٌ وَجَنَّةُ نَعِيمٍ. Then for him is rest and bounty and a garden of pleasure.
They say that rayhan also can refer to a pleasant smell. So you have Jannah described as beautiful to look at and beautiful to enjoy, and to the sight and the ear and the scent. Everything from it is the best that it can be.
وَأَمَّا إِن كَانَ مِنْ أَصْحَابِ الْيَمِينِ. And if he was of the companions of the right.
Now, this is the second group, the people who are less than the sabiqeen, but they are from the people of paradise.
فَسَلَامٌ لَكَ مِنْ أَصْحَابِ الْيَمِينِ. Then the angels will say, Salam for you, you are from the companions of the right.
Now, they will have a great reward. But the reward of the muqarrabeen will be better than their reward. The reward of the sabiqeen, the people who raced ahead in this world.
وَأَمَّا إِن كَانَ مِنَ الْمُكَذِّبِينَ الضَّالِّينَ. But if he was of the deniers who were astray.
And from the people of the left.
فَنُزُلٌ مِّنْ حَمِيمٍ. Then for him is accommodation of scalding water.
We said here the nuzul is not a nuzul of enjoyment. It's as though the word is used like he will enjoy. It's like that. It's used in a rebuke, as if you said he will enjoy burning in hell. Like he will be, his enjoyment, what is prepared for him is that. That's what is prepared for him.
وَتَصْلِيَةُ جَحِيمٍ. And burning in hellfire. إِنَّ هَذَا لَهُوَ حَقُّ الْيَقِينِ. Indeed, this is the true certainty.
This Qur'an is haqqul yaqeen. And there's no doubt about what it says at all. And that's why it is the greatest proof that you have. It is Hujjatullah al-Baligha. It's Allah's great proof against His creation, because there is not a single doubt about it at all.
فسبح باسم ربك العظيم. So exalt the name of your Lord, the most great.
And you say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim in your ruku'. When you make ruku', say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. Which surah did it come the command to say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la? This surah came with the command of Subhana Rabbi al-Azim in ruku'. Where did it come in sujood to say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la? The first ayah of Surah Al-A'la, Sabbih isma rabbika al-A'la. Say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, and the Prophet ﷺ said, make it in your sujood. And in the first ayah of Surah Al-A'la, he said, make it in your sujood. And in the last ayah of Surah Al-Waaqi'ah, he said, make it in your ruku'. And he says, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. And if you look at فَسَبِّحْ بِاسْمِ رَبِّكَ الْعَظِيمِ, Allah has perfect names and attributes and actions. Glorify them and exalt the name of Allah, who has the perfect names and attributes and actions. So we finish Surah Al-Waaqi'ah and we can go to Surah Al-Hadeed, inshallah ta'ala.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبح لله ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. Whatever is in the heavens and earth exalts Allah, and He is the exalted in might, the wise.
The surah is Madaniyah. Surah Al-Hadeed is from the time when the Prophet ﷺ was in Medina. As for Sabbaha lillah, it comes with two meanings. Tasbih, saying Subhanallah, comes with two meanings. The most obvious meaning is the meaning of declaring Allah to be free of any imperfection. So there are some people who said Allah has a son. There are some people who said Allah is a statue. There are some people who said that Allah has daughters. There are some people who said Allah has partners. All of this, Sabbaha lillahi, it means Allah is free from all of that. He is one, alone, and with no partner. And everything in the heavens and the earth praises Him and declares Him to be free of imperfection. But also from the meaning of Sabbaha is also to declare His perfection by His names and attributes and actions, by saying He is Al-Aziz Al-Hakim, the one who is full of might and full of wisdom. And Al-Aziz Al-Hakim are two names which are very unique because they come together with another meaning. Al-Aziz means the Almighty, and Al-Hakim means the All-Wise. But why do these two names come together? Because generally, when it comes to creation, what do you expect from someone in creation? I'm not talking about Allah. Someone in creation who is Aziz. What do you expect from them? Who is Aziz, who is mighty? Dhulm, oppression, tughyan, tyranny, crossing the boundaries. And if you say someone is mighty, and this person is mighty, you think of a tyrant, you think of someone who is just like a bull in a china shop, like they just ruin everything and they break everything and they trample over people. Tayyib, when you speak about creation, not the creator, and you say someone is Hakim, is wise, what do you think about that? Lets things go weak. People imagine an old man, right? A wise man, old man, leaning on a stick, he can't walk, doesn't have power, but he's very wise. Allah tells us that Allah is not like those two things. Allah is Aziz and Hakim. He has complete wisdom in everything He does. So His power is only exercised through wisdom. And His might and His power only happens with wisdom. And His wisdom is backed up with complete power. So His wisdom is not weakness. And His power is not oppression. So that's part of the two names coming together. And all of the times two names of Allah come together, there's a third meaning. So when two names of Allah come together, what are the three meanings? The meaning of the first name, the meaning of the second name, and the meaning of the two names together. So Al-Aziz means the Almighty, Al-Hakim means the All-Wise, and together it means the one whose power is full of wisdom and whose wisdom is backed up with power. So you have three meanings: the meaning of the first name, the second name, and then the meaning of the names together.
له ملك السماوات والأرض يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. He is the dominion of the heavens and earth. He gives life and causes death, and he is over all things. He is able to do all things.
Now be careful of qadir here. That was the problem we were talking about. The ra here is muraqqaqa. Read it one time just from the stop point. وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ
وهو على كل شيء قدير.
Better. So the ra here is light. It's not a heavy ra. It's a light ra. So sometimes we make a mistake and we say qadir, but it shouldn't be. It should be qadir with a ra muraqqaqa. One of the brothers pointed it out, Jazahullah khairan, in the recitation that he said I didn't correct it, or that I was doing it sometimes. So that's any fa'idah, you should pay attention to it now.
هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن وهو بكل شيء عليم. He is the first and the last, the ascendant and the intimate, and he is of all things knowing.
نعم. هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن. The best explanation of these four names is the explanation of the Prophet ﷺ. You cannot get anyone, nobody can explain it better than what he explained it. He said, هو الأول فليس قبله شيء. He is the first, no one came before him. And nothing was before Allah. Allah has always existed and never has anything existed before him. والآخر فليس بعده شيء. And he is the last, nothing will be after him. Nothing, Allah will never die. كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك جلالي والإكرام. Everything will die, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never ever die, and nothing will be able to outlast him. والظاهر فليس فوقه شيء. He is a zahir, no one is higher than him. So this is from ma'ani al-ulu, the meanings of highness for Allah. Al-zahir is like al-a'la and al-ali and al-muta'al. I like that word, the ascendant. It's very good. The one who is the highest above everyone, no one is above him. Wal-batin, the meaning is the nearest. I don't know about this word, the intimate. You'd have to look into the word. al-batin فليس دونه شيء. There's no one nearer than him by his knowledge and his hearing and his sight. There is no one nearer. So al-batin is like al-qarib, the one there is no one nearer than him. And no one can bring a better explanation than that, because that's the explanation of the Prophet ﷺ from his own words. Allahumma anta al-awwal falaysa qablaka shay wa anta al-akhiru falaysa ba'daka shay wa anta al-zahiru falaysa fawqaka shay wa anta al-batin falaysa dunaka shay. Nobody can bring a better explanation than that. You are the first, there is none before you. You are the last, there is none after you. You are al-zahir, there is none above you. And you are al-batin, there is no one closer than you. There is an athar from Ali ibn Abi Talib. If I'm not mistaken, it was Ali ibn Abi Talib. Let me just check it. Now, Abdullah ibn Abbas. It's not from Ali ibn Abi Talib. It's from Abdullah ibn Abbas. That Ikrimah, he said that Abu Zamid said to me, I asked Abdullah ibn Abbas, what is this thing that I find in my chest? He said, what is it? He said, Wallahi, I feel ashamed to speak about it. Like I have some doubts, or I have something in my heart that, like a doubt about, or a confusion about, or a bad feeling about Allah, or a bad thought about Islam in my heart, and I don't want to speak about it. He said, Ashay'un min ash-shak, is it something of doubt? He said that he smiled, and to show that that's true. And meaning that he made a gesture to show, yes, that I have something of a, like something comes into my mind of a doubt or a bad thought about Allah. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, Ma naja min dhalika ahad. No one is safe from this. He said, until Allah sent down He said, until Allah sent down, فَإِن كُنْتَ فِي شَكٍّ مِمَّا أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ فَاسْأَلِ الَّذِينَ يَقْرَؤُونَ الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. The ayah in Surah Yunus. He said to me, if you find something of this in your heart, you should read هُوَ الْأَوَّلُ وَالْآخِرُ وَالظَّاهِرُ وَالْبَاطِنُ وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. And you should read this ayah to repel doubts and bad thoughts that come into your heart without you intending it, and without you wanting it. And if somebody has a bad thought comes into their mind and they push it away, they should push it away with this ayah by saying هُوَ الْأَوَّلُ وَالْآخِرُ وَالظَّاهِرُ وَالْبَاطِنُ وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ.
هو الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش يعلم ما يلج في الأرض وما يخرج منها وما ينزل من السماء وما يعرج فيها وهو معكم أينما كنتم والله بما تعملون بصير. It is He who created the heavens and earth in 6 days and then rose Himself above the throne.
And then rose over the throne.
He knows what penetrates into the earth and what emerges from it and what descends from the heaven and what ascends therein. And He is with you wherever you are. And Allah of what you do is seen.
Now here, the tafseer of the Qur'an for ma'iyatullah is in the ayah. The ayah contains what does the ma'iyah of Allah mean? What does it mean Allah is with you? Does it mean physically He's with you? Or does it mean something which is not physical? The ayah itself tells you. He knows everything and He sees everything. That's the meaning of He's with you. He's with you in His knowledge, in His hearing, and in His sight. So the ayah tells you that's the meaning. And someone might come and say, why are you taking that meaning away from what Allah said? He said He's with you. Why do you say He's not physically with you? Why do you say He's physically above the heavens? Because Allah said in the ayah, ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى عَلَى الْعَرْشِ. He rose over the throne. He knows everything that happens on the earth and the heavens, and He sees everything. For the ayah itself tells you what is the meaning of He is with you. He is with you means He rose over the throne in Himself, but He is with you with His knowledge and His sight. And you can add to that with His hearing. For this is not a tafsir which went away from the Qur'an. This is the tafsir of the Qur'an for the ma'iyah of Allah. What does it mean? وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ. He is with you. Then on top of that, the Arabs, when they spoke and they used the word ma'akum, they didn't use it always in a physical sense. Rather, they would write to each other, وَعَلَمْ أَنَا مَعَكْ. Know that I'm with you. It doesn't mean physically I'm with you, right? It doesn't have to mean that I'm physically with you. Like if you wrote to somebody in Arabic, know that I am with you. Does he pick his letter and say, where is he? Where's he gone? I don't see him anywhere. No, he knows this word is used in Arabic not to mean necessarily physically present. Like if you received a letter from someone and it says, وَعَلَمْ أَنَا مَعَكْ. Know that I'm with you. And I'm supporting you, I'm aiding you, and so on. So the Qur'an itself explains what is meant by the ma'iyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is meant by Allah being with you in His hearing and in His sight and in His knowledge. But then there are two types of ma'iyah. Ma'iyyatun amma wa ma'iyyatun khassa. A general being with you, which is all of creation. So what is generally Allah is with all of creation in His hearing and in His knowledge and in His sight, with all creation. But what is special for the beloved servants of Allah? He is with you in bringing victory. And nasr, bringing you victory, answering your dua. And that's the meaning that is unique to the special beloved servants of Allah. In the ma'iyya khasa, the special being with you.
له ملك السماوات والأرض وإلى الله ترجع الأمور. He is the dominion of the heavens and earth, and to Allah return all matters.
His is the dominion. His is the dominion of the heavens and the earth.
يولج الليل في النهار ويولج النهار في الليل وهو عليم بذات الصدور. He causes the night to enter the day and causes the day to enter the night, and he is knowing of that within the breasts.
And he knows what you keep in your heart, what is in your chest.
آمنوا بالله ورسوله وأنفقوا مما جعلكم مستخلفين فيه فالذين آمنوا منكم وأنفقوا لهم أجر كبير. Believe in Allah and His Messenger and spend out of that in which He has made you successive inheritors. For those who have believed among you and spent, there will be a great reward.
Naam, so believe in Allah, that's what's required from you. After Allah told you about Himself, that He's perfect, that everything in the heavens and the earth praises Him, that He told you that He knows everything, that He is with you in His hearing and His knowledge and His sight, and He told you about Himself, what is required from you? What is the command? Aminu billahi wa rasuli. Believe in Allah and His Messenger, and spend out of that which we have made you inheritors of. So inheritors of, there's two views with regard to it. I say two, I don't mean only two, but there's two I want to talk to you about. One is the view that mustakhlafin means Allah has entrusted it to you. So what has Allah entrusted to you? Your wealth, your property. But also from the meaning of mustakhlafin is that which is passed in inheritance. The wealth that generally your wealth, your property is passed on from generation to generation, right? You don't take it with you into your grave. You pass it from mirath, and you pass it from one generation to the next generation. The result is the same. The meaning of both of them comes to the same result. Spend out of what we have given you as a trust, and what you spend and you pass on from generation to generation, your wealth and your property, spend out of it for the sake of Allah. For those who believe from you and spend will have a great reward. They spend out of what pleases Allah in the way that pleases Allah, they will have a great reward.
وما لكم لا تؤمنون بالله والرسول يدعوكم لتؤمنوا بربكم وقد أخذ ميثاقكم إن كنتم مؤمنين. And why do you not believe in Allah while the Messenger invites you to believe in your Lord, and He has taken your covenant if you should truly be believers?
Just one moment. Now here, what does it mean that He's taking your covenant from you? Now, some of them said the covenant here is the covenant mentioned in Surah Al-A'raf, the covenant of being taken out from Dhurriyyat Adam, all the Dhurriyyah of Adam being taken out from Adam, and it being said to them, Alastu bi Rabbikum, am I not your Lord? Or the covenant of Islam. Why do you not believe in Allah and the Messenger? Why do you not believe in Allah while the Messenger is calling you to believe in your Lord, and He's already taken a covenant from you that He is your Lord and you will worship Him if you are really believers?
هو الذي ينزل على عبده آيات بينات ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور وإن الله بكم لرؤوف رحيم. It is He who sends down upon His servant Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam verses of clear evidence that He may bring you out from darknesses into the light, and indeed Allah is to you kind and merciful.
Now these ayat that are sent down, the ayat of the Qur'an, in the revelation, it takes you from the darkness into the light. And Allah to all of you and to all of mankind is extremely kind and extremely merciful. But the special kindness and mercy is reserved for the believers. Generally, everyone has a share of the kindness and mercy of Allah in this world.
وما لكم ألا تنفقوا في سبيل الله ولله ميراث السماوات والأرض لا يستوي منكم من أنفق من قبل الفتح وقاتل أولئك أعظم درجة من الذين أنفقوا من بعد وقاتلوا وكلا وعد الله الحسنى والله بما تعملون خبير. And why do you not spend in the cause of Allah while to Allah belongs the heritage of the heavens and the earth? Not equal among you are those who spent before the conquest of Mecca and fought, and those who did so after it. Those are greater in degree than they who spent afterwards and fought. But to Allah has promised the best reward, and Allah of what you do is aware.
Now, heritage, what they say it means is yani, everything which is inherited, yani, everything which exists in terms of the property and the wealth of the heavens and the earth. Yani, why do you not spend for the sake of Allah when Allah has the possession of everything? Yani, Allah can give you so much to replace what you spend. And Allah doesn't need you to spend. Allah doesn't need you to spend. But Allah invites you to spend for your own benefit. And then Allah Azza wa Jal tells us about the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum, that those who spent and they fought before Al-Fath, and Al-Fath is the conquest of Mecca, they are of a greater level in the sight of Allah than those who accepted Islam after the conquest of Mecca and they spent afterwards and they fought afterwards. But both of them Allah has promised Al-Husna, and Al-Husna is paradise. So this is the evidence that all of the Sahaba are in Jannah. All of the Sahaba were promised paradise. وَكُلًّا وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الْحُسْنَى. But the Sahaba are not equal in themselves. Yani the best of the Sahaba are the Khulafa al-Rashideen. First of all, Abu Bakr is the best of all of them, then Umar, then Uthman, and then Ali. And then after that, the Ashar al-Mubashireen bil Jannah, the rest of the 10 who were promised paradise. أكرم بطلحة والزبير وسعدهم وسعيدهم وبعابد الرحمن وأبو أبعدة بالديانة والتقى وامدح جماعة بيئة الرضوان. And the 6 remaining that were from the 10. And then after that, by precedence of their time with the Prophet ﷺ and what they took part in. So the people of the Battle of Badr, who were there at the Battle of Badr, were better than those who came after it. And then the people who were present in Hudaybiyah were better than those that came after it, in Hudaybiyah, in the Bay'at al-Ridwan. And then so on, after that, until you get to the conquest of Mecca. But the ayah here makes a difference. Those who accepted Islam before the conquest of Mecca and those who accepted Islam afterwards. What's the virtue of them accepting Islam before the conquest of Mecca? At that time, Islam was not dominant. Does that make sense? Islam was not dominant in the Arabian Peninsula. So they were accepting Islam with great difficulty upon themselves. After the conquest of Mecca, Islam became dominant in the Arabian Peninsula. So they were accepting Islam with the rest of the people. But they were not accepting Islam as a few people and most of the people are against them. They were accepting Islam along with everyone else. So we have nothing bad to say about any of the Sahaba. The last one of them to accept Islam and the first one of them. But we do believe the Sahaba, different levels, they are not all of the same level. And those who accepted Islam later on after the conquest of Mecca are not the same as those people who accepted Islam in the early days, like Abu Bakr and like the early people who accepted Islam. We spoke about the Khulafa al-Rashideen, people like Bilal and Zayd ibn Thabit, and the people who accepted Islam in the early days. They are not the same as you cannot say that someone who accepted Islam after the conquest of Mecca is like them. Rather, they have a level above the people who accepted Islam later on. وَكُلًّا وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الْحُسْنَى. All of them Allah promised paradise.
من ذا الذي يقرض الله قرضا حسنا فيضاعفه له وله أجر كريم. Who is it that would loan Allah a goodly loan, so he will multiply it for him and he will have a noble reward.
And the qard, which is hasan, in the original meaning is a qard is a loan. And why is it called a loan? Because you get paid back. That's why it's a qard. So you're spending in charity. Allah doesn't need you to spend. But for you, you're spending in charity. What is Allah going to give you back? Allah is going to give you back more than what you gave. So it's a loan that you gave it. Giving it for the sake of Allah, expecting that Allah will give you much more back than what you gave. And this person will have a noble reward in paradise.
يوم ترى المؤمنين والمؤمنات يسعى نورهم بين أيديهم وبأيمانهم بشراكم اليوم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ذلك هو الفوز العظيم. On the day you see the believing men and believing women, their light proceeding before them, and on their right it will be said, your good tidings today are of gardens beneath which rivers flow, wherein you will abide eternally. That is what is the great attainment.
Now, one moment. Their light is proceeding before them. And when all the lights are extinguished, because Yawm al-Qiyamah, the light is extinguished, right? إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ انْكَدَرَتْ. And the sun is wound up, the stars fall down from the sky. And when all of these things, وَخُسِفَ الْقَمَرُ, the moon is extinguished. And the people are in a state of darkness. And the path is put over Jahannam, the Sirat. وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا. Every single one of you will cross over Jahannam in complete darkness. How is the path? The path is as thin as a hair and as sharp as a razor blade. And upon it are hooks that catch the people and put them into Jahannam. On that day, you're in darkness. The path is slippery and it's sharp and it's thin and it's over Jahannam. And already there are hooks that are trying to pull you into Jahannam. On that day, who will have light? On that day, it is the believers, the believing men and the believing women who will have their light shining ahead of them and on their right. And some of them said on their right here, and Sa'di alludes to it. And he said, Yani, what's the word? I don't know if I can find the right word for it. He said, فَيَمْشُونَ بِأَيْمَانِهِمْ وَنُورِهِمْ. Yani, their blessings. They will go forward with their blessings and with their light. And they will be able to cross that sirat and they will be safe from it. And they will be said to them, when they have crossed it, the angels will say to them, بُشْرَاكُمُ الْيَوْمَ جَنَّاتٍ, that you'll be given the glad tidings today of Jannah.
يوم يقول المنافقون والمنافقات للذين آمنوا انظرونا نقتبس من نوركم.
عفوا, أعد عبد الرحمن, because there's no mad there. للذين آمنوا انظرونا.
يوم يقول المنافقون والمنافقات للذين آمنوا انظرونا نقتبس من نوركم قيل ارجعوا وراءكم فالتمسوا نورا فضرب بينهم بسور له باب باطنه فيه الرحمة وَظَاهِرُهُ مِنْ قِبَلِهِ الْعَذَابِ. On the same day, the hypocrite men and hypocrite women will say to those who believed, Wait for us that we may acquire some of your light. It will be said, go back behind you and seek light, and a wall will be placed between them with a door, its interior containing mercy, but on the outside of it is torment.
Now here, on the same day, the munafiqeen, who is the munafiq? The one who kept disbelief in their heart, but showed belief on their actions, on their tongue. They said, we believe, but they don't believe. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ. There are some of from the people, there are those people who say, آمَنَّا, they say we believe, but they don't really believe. They said آمَنَّا with their tongue, but they don't. يَقُولُونَ آمَنَّا بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. But their hearts don't believe. Those people, what are they doing? They're still behaving like believers. And you look at how Allah deceived them. They are not believers. They never were believers. They didn't believe anything in their heart. They just hid. They pretended to be Muslim, but they're not. They never accepted Islam. Those people still, until this time of the Qiyamah, are pretending to be believers. So they go to the believers and say, we were with you in this world. You and us, we prayed together and everything. Just, can I borrow your light? Just, I need to see the way because I can't see. Because Allah didn't give me a light. So just, you and me, we were together. We prayed together in this world and we were together. So just give me your light. It will be said to them, go back. Some of them said it will be said mockingly to them. And go behind. But some of them said the meaning of irji'u means go back to this world. Why don't you go back to the world you came from and see if you can find the light that you left behind in that world? They take it as, let us go back. So they let us go. And he let us go back. So where was the light acquired? The light was acquired in this world. They got the light. The light is the light of Iman and the light of knowledge from this world. They now are told, irji'u wara, go behind and look and see if you can find light. But where was the light? The light was found in this world, but they didn't take it. So when they go behind to look for the light, because the meaning is as a dual meaning, right? The meaning is just go backwards there and find light. But what the believers mean is go back to the dunya and find light. So when they go to find some light, what happens? A wall is driven between them and the believers. Some said the wall is al-a'raf, that's a view. There's no specific reason for it to be that I know of. I don't know of any specific evidence. Allah knows best. But there is a wall driven between them and between the believers. That wall has a gate. The near side or the interior of it is grace, is mercy, Allah's mercy. And the punishment is on the other side. So the munafiqeen are driven a wall between them and the believers. The believers are on the side of the wall where there is mercy, and the munafiqeen are on the side of the wall where there is punishment.
ينادونهم ألم نكن معكم قالوا بلى ولكنكم فتنتم أنفسكم وتربصتم وارتبتم وغرتكم الأماني حتى جاء أمر الله وغركم بالله الغرور. They will call to them, were we not with you? They will say, yes, but you afflicted yourselves and awaited misfortune for us and doubted, and wishful thinking deluded you until there came the command of Allah, and the deceiver deceived you concerning Allah.
The hypocrites will call out to the believers, were we not with you? And as though they're saying, why is this wall between us when we were together? The believers will say, yes, you were with us, but you people put yourselves into a trial. And you afflicted yourselves by hypocrisy. And you waited for a problem, and you thought we were going to be the ones who would lose. And the hypocrites, what were they waiting for? They were waiting أن تصيبكم دائرة. They want a bad thing to happen to the believers. They expect that at any moment in time, the pagans will win and the believers will lose, and then they will come out in their true colors. So they're waiting for something bad to happen to the Muslims. But nothing bad happened to them. Then Yawm al-Qiyamah, they go back to their usual way of lying and they say, we were with you, we were together with you. The believers say, you were physically with us, but you were not with us. And you were not on our side. You were afflicted by hypocrisy and you had doubt and you wanted bad things to happen to us and you were fooled by wishful thinking. And we said many times, Ikhwani, wishful thinking does not get you into Jannah. لَيْسَ بِأَمَانِيِّكُمْ وَلَا أَمَانِيِّ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ. You don't enter Jannah because of at-tamanni, atamanna, I wish, I hope, I dream. And they didn't do the actions of the people of paradise. And then the command of Allah came and still you people were thinking that Allah doesn't know what you do. And you were thinking that Allah is not going to expose you and you thought you got away with it. And shaitan deceived you about Allah. And you were deceived by the worldly life. So until that moment, still the munafiqeen thought, ajib, yani they thought they got away with it. They still, until then, they think that they've got away with it. Maybe there's some way we can escape. But the believers don't give them any light. And then they are pushed into the fire and separated. Some of the scholars, and we can bring some discussion on it later on, they said that until that point, the munafiqeen and the believers could be amongst each other before crossing the sirat. But the believers will have light and the munafiq will not have light. And the munafiq is separated at this point where the munafiqeen are separated. And that is not because of honor. Rather, Allah Azza wa Jal deceives them because they tried to deceive Allah in thinking that they had been safe, when actually in the last moment Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroys them because يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهِ وَهُوَ خَادِعُهُمْ. They try to deceive Allah, but it is Allah that deceives them.
فَالْيَوْمَ لَا يُؤْخَذُ مِنْكُمْ فِدْيَةٌ وَلَا مِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مَأْوَاكُمُ النَّارُ هِيَ مَوْلَاكُمْ وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ. So today no ransom will be taken from you or from those who disbelieved. Your refuge is the fire, it is more worthy of you, and wretched is the destination.
Now here, مَوْلَاكُمْ. The fire is your mawla. Some of them said mawlakum, it means mustaqarrukum, the place where you will reside. And some of them said mawlakum, it is awla, it's the place where you deserve to be. And some of them brought mawlakum, it is now, you don't have anything else now. There is no one going to look after you, there's no one going to take care of you. What you have now, your mawla is the fire. وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ. And what a terrible place to be.
أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَمَا نَزَلَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ وَلَا يَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلُ فَطَالَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْأَمَدُ فَقَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ.
أعيد الآية من الأول.
ألم يأن للذين آمنوا أن تخشع قلوبهم لذكر الله وما نزل من الحق ولا يكونوا كالذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبل فطال عليهم الأمد فقست قلوبهم وكثير منهم فاسقون. Has the time not come for those who have believed that their hearts should become humbly submissive at the remembrance of Allah and what has come down of the truth? And let them not be like those who were given the scripture before and a long period passed over them, so their hearts hardened and many of them are defiantly disobedient.
Here in this ayah, I want to read to you what As-Sa'di said about it, because this ayah is very important. He said, لما ذكر حال المؤمنين, or he said لما ذكر حال المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمنافقين والمنافقات في الدار الآخرة. He said when Allah mentioned the situation of the believing men and women and also the situation of the hypocrites in the hereafter. And this is from the things which invite the heart to be humbled before its Lord, and for the heart to recognize the greatness of Him. فَعَاتَبَ اللَّهُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ عَلَى عَدَمِ ذَلِكَ. Allah Azza wa Jal rebukes the believers. And how can you not have khushu' in your heart after you heard this? So it's a gentle rebuke, if you like, to the believers. Because normally the believers are not rebuked, but there are times where this is a gentle rebuke. And He hasn't now, after you've heard this, you've heard the situation of the munafiq, and you've heard the situation of the believer, and you've heard what's come in this surah, isn't now the time for your heart to be humbled and recognize the greatness of Allah? And hasn't the time now come for your heart to be softened? So one of the meanings of أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُكُمْ, the meanings of for your heart, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُم, one of the meanings of it is for your heart to be softened. Because the ayah mentions the opposite, فَقَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُم, their hearts became hard. So now hasn't the time come for your heart to be softened? And the ayah also tells us about, hasn't the time come for humility? The dhikr which is mentioned is the Qur'an. لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَمَا نَزَلَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ, the commands and prohibitions. After having heard this, hasn't the time come for the hearts of the believers to be softened and humbled by the recitation of the Qur'an and the truth that it contains from the commands and prohibitions? The commands and the prohibitions, and the things which give you encouragement and the things which give you admonishment, and the truth which came with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And this ayah contains al-hathu ala al-ijtihadi ala al-khushu' al-qalbi lillahi ta'ala. It contains encouragement for you to struggle and strive for your heart to be soft and humble. Softness and humility in the heart is something you have to work for. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described it as something which you work for. أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُم. And it's something in your ability to work for it. Allah is the one who gives you the success in it. But you can work to make your heart softer. And you can work to make your heart more humble. By the Qur'an and the Sunnah. And by remembering the admonition and the terrifying warnings that come in the Qur'an and the rulings of the Sharia in each time, and by taking yourself to account for that. That's what I want. One more time, I want you to listen to what Sa'di said. He said, وَهَذَا فِيهِ الْحَثُّ عَلَى الْإِجْتِهَادِ عَلَى الْخُشُوعِ الْقَلْبِ لِلَّهِ تَعَالَى. This contains encouragement for the heart to be soft and humble, and for you to work to make your heart soft and humble. لِمَا أَنزَلَهُ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ وَالْحِكْمَةِ وَلِمَا أَنزَلَهُ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. Because of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down from the Qur'an and from the Sunnah. وَأَنْ يَتَذَكَّرَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الْمَوَاعِظ الْإِلَهِيَّةِ وَالْأَحْكَامَ الشَّرْعِيَّةِ كُلَّ وَقْتٍ. For you to remember the admonition, the terrifying things that came in the Qur'an, and for you to remember the rulings and apply them upon yourself at every time. وَيُحَاسِبُ أَنفُسَهُمْ عَلَى ذَلِكَ. And you take yourselves to account for this. You ask yourself, has my heart become humbled? I heard what happened to these people. I heard what will happen to the munafiqeen. So have I left nifaq in my actions? Or am I still committing hypocrisy in my own actions? So if we're committing hypocrisy in our own actions, we haven't yet softened our heart for what came in the Qur'an from the truth. And don't be like those people that Allah gave the scripture before them. And it should have made their heart soft. And it should have made them submissive. But they didn't stay upon that. And they didn't have thabat. And Sa'di said, they did not have thabat upon it. They did not stay firm upon it. Rather, as time went on, they lost their commitment and they lost their dedication to it. And so they started to lose their faith and lose their certainty. And this is what happened. This is what the meaning of فَطَالَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْأَمَدِ, the time went by. It doesn't mean that time going by is the problem. The problem was they didn't stay firm upon it until their death. Or they didn't stay firm upon it as the years went by and as time went by. And many of us could find ourselves in that situation. And that's why Allah tells us, and every time we're told about the Jews and Christians in the Qur'an and Sunnah, we're told about it so we don't fall into what they fell into. One of the things that happened to them is they had religious commitment when their prophets came. And when Isa came, when Jesus came, alayhi salatu wasalam, Isa alayhi salatu wasalam came, people had the religious commitment. But as time went by, they lost that commitment and they let go of their religion. Many Muslims fell into the same thing. As time goes on, they start to leave their commitment to the deen. And subhanAllah, when someone first starts practicing Islam or first accepts Islam, you see a lot of hirs, commitment and keenness for the religion. And time goes by, people become more and more relaxed and they let things go. And then with their children, they let things go, and then their children let things go. And as time goes on, they lose their commitment to the religion. Whereas the Qur'an invites you to keep that commitment firm and strong because of the revelation that comes down and the fact that it contains a maw'idah, an admonition that shakes your heart, and the fact that it also contains commandments and prohibitions that clean your heart and make it soft. And from the Prophet ﷺ, what he said is that whoever wants for their heart to be softened, then let him feed the poor and let him wipe over the head of the orphan. And if you find yourself to be hard-hearted, the Qur'an tells you what to do. The Sunnah tells you what to do. If you find yourself to be hard-hearted, read the Qur'an, it will soften your heart. Read about the Sunnah and the Seerah, it will soften your heart. Feed the poor, it will soften your heart. Wipe over the head of the orphan, it will soften your heart. And then you won't complain of that hardness of heart, and be firm upon your religion and stick to it. Don't compromise in it over time, because that's what made the people who came before you harden their hearts. There's another bahth that would be very good to do, to look at asbabu qaswatil qalb fil Qur'ani wa Sunnah. Go through the Qur'an and Sunnah and gather together all of the reasons why it's said that your heart becomes hard. There are general reasons like disobedience and turning away, but there are specific reasons mentioned, like not having firmness in the religion, not feeding the poor, not looking after the orphans. And what are the reasons why hardness of the heart? Al-ikhtilaf ala al-anbiya, not sticking to what the Prophet said, like the people of Musa. When they didn't stick, when they kept going back to Musa and saying to Musa, what kind of cow shall I sacrifice? What do you mean? What I don't understand. What color shall it be? When they kept going back to Musa, what happened to them? ثُمَّ قَسَتْ قُلُوبُكُم مِّن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ. Then your hearts became hard. Why? Because of كَثْرَةُ مَسَائِلِهِمْ وَاخْتِلَافُهُمْ عَلَى أَنْبِيَائِهِمْ. Because they kept on asking Musa again and again, and they kept on not accepting what he said. So the person who keeps on not accepting the Sunnah, and that person also, their hearts can become hard. So you can go through and collect the reasons why, from the Tafseer and from the Hadith, of why a person's heart becomes hard, and then by reverse, what are the reasons to soften the heart? So there's specific reasons like what's mentioned in the Sunnah of feeding the poor and wiping over the head of the orphan, but there's also general things like not going against the Prophets alayhim as-salatu was-salam, accepting the ayat and the hadith when it comes to you the first time. And these are also from the reasons to soften the heart.
اعلموا أن الله يحيي الأرض بعد موتها قد بينا لكم الآيات لعلكم تعقلون. Know that Allah gives life to the earth after its lifelessness. We have made clear to you the signs, perhaps you will understand.
And here, know that Allah gives life to the earth, and so Allah can give life to your heart after your heart became hard. If you implement what Allah Azza wa Jal commands you to implement, Allah will give life to your heart even after your heart died.
إن المصدقين والمصدقات وأقرضوا الله قرضا حسنا يضاعف لهم ولهم أجر كريم. Indeed, the men who practice charity and the women who practice charity and they who have loaned Allah is a goodly loan. It will be multiplied for them and they will have a noble reward. والذين آمنوا بالله ورسوله والذين آمنوا بالله ورسله أولئك هم الصديقون والشهداء عند ربهم لهم أجرهم ونورهم والذين كفروا وكذبوا بآياتنا أولئك أصحاب الجحيم. And those who have believed in Allah and His messengers, those are in the ranks of the supporters of truth and the martyrs with their Lord. For them is their reward and their light. But those who have disbelieved and denied our verses, those are the companions of hellfire.
Now, so here, the meaning is going to change according to where you stop. The meaning here is going to change according to where you stop. So if you stop, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرُسُلِهِ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الصِّدِّيقُونَ. So here, Iman in Allah and the messengers makes you among the Siddiq, yani makes you a Siddiq. And the martyrs have their reward, which is special for them with Allah. And if you continue, then the meaning is going to come together that whoever believes in Allah and His messengers, they are among the supporters of truth and the martyrs. And having Iman puts you with who? Having Iman, having faith, puts you along with النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين. And if you have belief in Allah and you believe in the messengers, you'll be in that group among the prophets and the Siddiqeen and the Shuhada and the Salihin. But if we say those people who have Iman in Allah and the messengers, they are the Siddiqun, how do we explain that? How do we explain that? As-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, he said the Iman here is those who complete their Iman. And if we stop at As-Siddiqun here, if we stop at As-Siddiqun, so this Iman has to be an Iman which is higher than the regular belief in Allah and His Messenger. Does that make sense? Otherwise, how can you be raised to the level of a Siddiq if you are the same as everybody else? So the Iman which is mentioned here is either istikmal al-Iman or kamal al-Iman al-mustahab, completing the recommended elements of Iman, going beyond the minimum standard. In that case, what is completing Iman called? What's that stage of completion of Iman called? Ihsan. Sah. The people who strive for Ihsan and they go beyond the minimum standard, they are the Siddiqun, in the highest level of truth. So who is the Siddiq? The Siddiq is the one who completed their Iman. That's one way you can take the ayah. The Siddiq is the one who brought all of the obligatory and the voluntary aspects of Iman. Like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, radiyallahu anhu. May Allah be pleased with him. So the one who brings the obligatory and then brings the voluntary and completes their Iman, man istakmala Iman, the one who finished and completed and perfected their Iman, they become with the Siddiqeen. Or the people of Iman in general will be among the group of the Siddiqeen and the martyrs and the righteous Yawm al-Qiyamah. And as for those who disbelieve and deny these ayat or our ayat, they will be the people of the hellfire.
اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد كمثل غيث أعجب الكفار نباته ثم يحيج فتراه مصفرا ثم يكون حطاما وفي الآخرة عذاب شديد ومغفرة من الله ورضوان وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور. Know that the life of this world is but amusement and diversion and adornment and boasting to one another and competition in increase of wealth and children. Like the example of a rain whose resulting plant growth pleases the tillers. Then it dries and you see it turned yellow. Then it became scattered debris. And in the hereafter is severe punishment and forgiveness from Allah and approval. And what is the worldly life except the enjoyment of delusion?
And the example of the worldly life, in this worldly life is play, amusement, luxury, boasting to each other, competition in increase of wealth and children. Like the example of the rain, who when the plant grows, it pleases the one who sowed the seed. Then it dries and you see it turned yellow and then it becomes debris, just scattered dust. And it pleased the person who planted it when it was green, but then suddenly it turned to nothing and the person said, actually, it wasn't worth what I thought it was worth. It wasn't worth what I thought it was worth. And in the hereafter is severe punishment as well as forgiveness and Allah's pleasure. So either you can have severe punishment or you can have Allah's pleasure. And that's what really matters, not the greenness of this world, not the green, the sweetness or the beauty of this world. So these things in the world are not important. Any play, amusement, luxury, any boasting who's got more, who's richer, who's got more, any children, competition, who can be more rich, who can be more famous, who can have more kids. And don't be a person who is amazed by the green plant, but doesn't know that tomorrow that plant is going to die and become just dust in the wind. But be someone who knows that this world is intended to be temporary and we're not going to live in it forever. And whatever good we have in this world is for the purpose of forgiveness and pleasure in the hereafter, not for the purpose of any wasting your time in this world that results in punishment. And the life of this world is just a delusion, the enjoyment of delusion. You enjoy something that is not really what matters.
سابقوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها كعرض السماء والأرض أعدت للذين آمنوا بالله ورسله ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. Race toward forgiveness from your Lord and a garden whose width is like the width of the heavens and earth, prepared for those who believed in Allah and His messengers. That is the bounty of Allah which He gives to whom He wills, and Allah is the possessor of great bounty.
I think the word Jannah here would be better translated as paradise. Race, compete with each other. So sabiqu contains two things, like we mentioned in Surah Al-Imran. Contains the idea of competing with each other in good. Don't compete with each other in children. Don't compete with each other in who is rich and who is poor, who is successful in this world. And you want to be more successful than the other person. You want to be more rich than the other person, more famous than the other person. Don't compete for these things. Compete in getting Jannah, in getting paradise. Who can do more good deeds? Who can race ahead of the other person? A paradise whose width is the width of the heavens and the earth, we mentioned in Surah Al-Imran, prepared for those who believe in Allah and His messengers. And this is the grace of Allah and He gives it to whoever He wants, meaning that it is a grace, it's not what you deserve, but it's more than what you deserve. But Allah gives it as a grace to you, and Allah is the one who has the greatest bounty.
ما أصاب من مصيبة في الأرض ولا في أنفسكم إلا في كتاب من قبل أن نبرأها إن ذلك على الله يسير. No disaster strikes upon the earth or among yourselves except that it is in a register before we bring it into being. Indeed, that for Allah is easy.
No disaster strikes upon the earth or among yourselves except that it is in a register, that is the Lawh al-Mahfuz, the preserved tablet, before it happens, and that is for Allah easy. And that is part of our belief in Qadr. It's the second martaba min maratib al-Qadr. So Qadr comes into 4 stages. The belief that Allah knows everything, the belief that Allah has written everything, the belief that everything happens by Allah's will, and the belief that everything happens by Allah's creation. Those are the 4 stages of believing in Allah's decree. So nothing happens on the earth or among yourselves except that it is already been written in a decree. And that is for Allah Azza wa Jal easy.
لكي لا تأسوا على ما فاتكم ولا تفرحوا بما آتاكم والله لا يحب كل مختال فخور. In order that you not despair over what has eluded you and not exult in pride over what He has given you. And Allah does not like everyone self-deluded and boastful.
Sa'di said something very powerful about the previous ayah. He said, this ayah, ma asaba min musibah, it doesn't just mean a bad musibah. It means everything that happens to you, not just a calamity. And he says here that the ayah here doesn't just mean a calamity. And that's in line with the clear Qur'an. No calamity or blessing occurs on the earth. And I think that is much better because it brings it in line with the next ayah. That the musibah here is not a calamity. The musibah here is kullu ma yusibul insan. Everything that happens to a person, good or bad, is already written. He said this is a great matter, but the intellect cannot, and you cannot fully wrap your mind around it, as Sa'di says. There's no doubt. Like nobody can wrap their mind around the idea of the Lawh al-Mahfuz. What do we mean by that? You know it exists and you know what it is. But to have the complete understanding, you cannot. So what is required from you? You asked this question, Abdurrahman. The brothers were asking the question. This is the answer. There are elements of qadr, of belief in destiny, that you cannot wrap your head around them completely. You cannot. Like whatever you try to do, you cannot get a full and complete picture of it. But you have to ask yourself, what is required from me? What is required from me is احرص على ما ينفعك واستعن بالله ولا تعجز. 3 things is required from you. Be keen for what will benefit you. Don't say it was written for me. If it was written for me, I would have done it. If it wasn't written for me, I wouldn't have done it. That's true. But it also shows that you're lazy and you're not willing to work. So go and look for what benefits you. واستعن بالله. Know you need Allah's help. Know that you need Allah's help. وَلَا تَعْجِزْ. And don't feel that you have been defeated. Don't feel like you're helpless. Don't say there's no benefit for me. I'm condemned. I'm done for. I'm finished. So 3 things. Work hard. Ask Allah's help. And don't say that there's no point. Don't say I'm condemned and I've failed and I'm never going to do anything. Just work hard and ask Allah's help. And don't try to wrap your head around something that you may not be able to get a complete picture of it. You know it's like that. I'm not saying that's the only explanation. There is, you can explain it more. But I'm saying that people, they have a limit to what they can understand. So I can maybe explain to you more than that, a little bit. But if I explain to you, some people will understand, some will not. And maybe my explanation, maybe things I will understand and things I will not. And other people can explain it better than me, but there will be things I will understand and things I will not. But at the end of the day, the conclusion, everybody can understand. What's the conclusion? Work hard, ask Allah's help, and don't say that I'm helpless. Don't say there's no hope for me. Just work hard and seek Allah's help. And then whatever you understood from those maratib, the more person who has more understanding and the one who has less, but the conclusion is the same. So that you, and this is from the great benefits of Qadr, and Qadr has many benefits. Also, it's a nice bahth, research to write down the benefits of Qadr, believing in Qadr. Because someone might say, well, why? Like, why give us this belief that is hard to understand? Qadr is the hardest aspect of Iman to understand. Would you not say that's the case? Is that not like a reasonable thing to say? That Qadr is from among the hardest of the beliefs of Islam to understand. The belief in Allah's decree. There's elements of it that are difficult to understand. Ibn al-Qayyim, he describes it as bahrun la sahila lah. And he says that it's a sea that has no shore. Like it's a never-ending sea. Whoever climbs aboard the sunnah will be on the ship of safety, and whoever leaves the sunnah will be drowned in a never-ending sea. But here, there are many benefits of believing in Qadr. From the benefits of it is what is mentioned in this ayah. لِكَيْ لَا تَأْسَوْا عَلَى مَا فَاتَكُمْ وَلَا تَفْرَحُوا بِمَا أَتَاكُمْ. So that you don't grieve over what you missed. Could you imagine if you believe everything is in your hands? What will happen if you missed out on something? You see, how are the people who don't believe, generally speaking? How are they when they missed out on a job, or they missed out on a relationship, or what do? Maybe they throw themselves from the top of the building. Because in their mind, it's what you missed out, you blame yourself, you beat yourself up. But the Muslim, what does he say? He said, what I missed out was Qadr Allah. It was Allah, Qaddar Allah wa ma sha fa'al. It's Allah's decree and He does what He wants. So what happens? You don't feel so bad over the things that you missed out on. You don't feel like you don't want to kill yourself because you missed out on something. You say, yeah, I missed out on something. I did something wrong. I took a wrong way. Okay. And that's what Allah decreed for me. Now, how can I find what will benefit me? But you see the mistake people make. What do? Some people, they might have that and they might say, look, I missed out by Allah's decree. But then they don't work hard to get what is left. They say, oh, that was Allah's decree, so I'm helpless. What did we say? 3 things. Work hard, ask Allah's help, and don't say that I'm helpless. And you don't say it's finished for me. No, that was Allah's decree for you then. Now you have new opportunities to work hard. So take your opportunities to work hard. And so that you don't become boastful over what you've been given. Because Qadr prevents jealousy. And it prevents boasting and arrogance. Belief in Qadr stops you being arrogant. Why? Okay, let's just say you drive a nice car. You have a nice car outside. You live in a very beautiful house. Bank balance is plenty of zeros. Do you now see yourself to be above the other people? By this ayah, وَلَا تَفْرَحُوا بِمَا أَتَاكُمْ. You don't feel like you are boasting above other people. This is a blessing Allah gave me. It's a test for me. I have to use it properly. Otherwise Allah will take it away from me. And maybe Allah will make it a punishment. Qarun was punished because of his wealth. So you realize that if you've been given something good, it doesn't mean a guarantee in this world. It doesn't mean you're guaranteed to be a person of paradise. And if you don't have something good, it doesn't mean that Allah doesn't love you. Rather, this dunya is given to those that Allah loves and those that Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't love. So this belief in Qadr, it stops you from jealousy. You don't feel jealous of people. Why would I be jealous of someone if what they were given was given by Allah's Qadr and what I was given by Allah's Qadr? So never can I have your car and never can you have my car unless we buy and sell from each other. Yani. Sah? Never like I look at somebody and say he's got so much money and I don't have. But what he's got is given to him by Allah and what I got was given to me by Allah. So there's no point in me wanting to have what someone else has. But it settles your heart, it stops jealousy between people. If you see someone who suffers from extreme jealousy, you realize this person doesn't believe properly in qadr. I'm not talking about natural jealousy that can sometimes happen, but I'm talking about extreme, any wanting people to lose what they have and hating other people for what they have. This is someone who doesn't believe in Allah's decree. There's many things here. It gives you comfort and it reminds you how much you need Allah's help. Because when you don't believe in qadr, you believe everything is in your hands. Right? What did Qarun say? إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ عِنْدِي. I was given it because I've got a lot of knowledge and I've got a lot of power and I'm really clever. So he believed that his own efforts were the reason he got good. So it makes you grateful to Allah. It makes you realize how much you need Allah's help. It makes you turn to Allah, and it makes you scared because you don't know what's written for you. You don't know what the end written. I don't know what has Allah written for me. So you're constantly worried about it. And that means you're constantly trying hard to do the best you can. Someone might say, why should I try hard if it's already written for me? Firstly, you don't know what's written for you. You don't know whether you've been written to be from the people of Jannah or not. So you have only one thing in front of you. You have something you have no control over and something you have an ability to do. You have no control over what's written. You don't know it, I don't know it, nor can you change it, nor can you do anything about it. But what you do have control over is what Allah has given you to do now. And I can at least try to be righteous, I can at least work hard, I can strive. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah will make easy for you to do what you were created for. And that's very powerful because it shows that if you work hard and try, Allah will help you to a qadr that will please you. And if you turn away and are lazy, then you're only getting the qadr that is befitting to you. And you're getting what suits you. And a person at the end of the day who's trying hard and praying, Allah will never oppress them. Someone who works really hard and they do their prayers and they do the best they can, Allah will never ever oppress them. Allah will never take away from them what they deserve. But the person who's lazy, they're just going to get what they deserve in the end. They're going to be exactly, the square shape fits in the square hole. He's lazy, doesn't do anything, doesn't work hard. Okay, so you are exactly where you deserve to be then. But the person who works hard and tries hard and asks Allah's help, so Allah Azza wa Jal will help you to be the person who fits the work that you do. But this is a profound lesson for a person who really understands it. The more you understand it, the more you realize the benefit of it. That is really important. It's not a small thing, it's a very important thing that will change your life and make you feel so much better and make you so much of a better Muslim, the more you appreciate the decree of Allah and the benefits that it brings.
الذين يبخلون ويأمرون الناس بالبخل ومن يتول فإن الله هو الغني الحميد. Those who are stingy and enjoin upon people stinginess, and whoever turns away, then indeed Allah is the free of need, the praiseworthy.
So this relates to the second part of the previous ayah. Allah does not like the one who is arrogant and full of pride and boasting. Those are the people who are arrogant and full of pride. They are the people who are stingy. And they tell other people to be stingy. And if they don't give charity, the surah came with the issue of giving charity, right? From the beginning to the end, one of the themes of the surah, from beginning to the end, is about giving charity. And those people who turn away from giving or turn away from obedience. Allah doesn't need you. And you don't think that Allah needs you to pray. Allah is Ghaniyun Hamid, worthy of all praise and free of all need. He doesn't need you to pray. You pray because it's good for you or it benefits you and it's the right thing to do. But Allah doesn't need you to pray. It doesn't affect Allah. It doesn't hurt Allah if you don't pray. It hurts you, not Him. Allah is always worthy of all praise because of His names and attributes and actions and free of all need.
لقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الكتاب والميزان ليقوم الناس بالقسط وأنزلنا الحديد فيه بأس شديد ومنافع للناس وليعلم الله من ينصره ورسله بالغيب إن الله قوي عزيز. We have already sent our messengers with clear evidences and sent down with them the scripture and the balance that the people may maintain their affairs in justice. And we sent down iron, wherein is great military might and benefits for the people, and so that Allah may make evident those who support Him and His messengers unseen. Indeed, Allah is powerful and exalted in might.
Now, we already sent our messengers with clear evidences and sent down with them the scripture and the balance of justice. The balance meaning justice, what's right and what's wrong. And so people maintain the affairs of Allah in justice. We sent and maintain their affairs in justice. And we sent down Al-Hadeed. This is the word that surah is named after it, Surah Al-Hadeed. We sent down iron. Iron contains great military might. And if you think about all the things that we make with iron now in the military, and all the things that are made out of the metals, the tanks and all these different things that people have, they fight with one another, and the swords in those times and the arrows and all those things that military might that came down from Al-Hadeed, that came down from the iron that was sent down. And one of the reasons of this is so Allah can make evident those who support the religion of Islam from those who don't. And those who believe in Allah even though they can't see Him, and those who don't. And Allah is powerful and exalted in might. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more powerful than any of these things that He sent down to you subhanahu wa ta'ala. But He sent them down to you so that the people who support Him and His religion and His messengers can be clear from the people who don't.
ولقد أرسلنا نوحا وإبراهيم وجعلنا في ذريتهما النبوة والكتاب فمنهم مهتد وكثير منهم فاسقون. And we've already sent Nuh and Ibrahim and placed in their descendants prophethood and scripture, and among them is he who is guided, but many of them are defiantly disobedient.
From the benefits that As-Sa'di mentioned in the previous ayah, Inna Allah Qawiyyun Aziz, is that all of the power we have in this world is a result of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down. And Allah's power is so great that Allah Azza wa Jal just sent down, and if we just look at one thing that Allah did, just one, and He did many, but we just look at one thing, He sent down the iron. From that iron, all of the armor is made, and the weapons are made, and the military might is made from one single thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down, that is a tiny portion of the effect of His power. But that's also a benefit that Sa'di mentioned. And we sent down, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, we sent Noah and Abraham, and we made among their descendants prophethood and scripture. All of the other prophets that came from their descendants, right? So from Ibrahim was Ismail and Ishaq. From Ishaq, all of the prophets of Bani Israel. And from Ismail, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, all of them were from the offspring of Abraham, and they had prophethood and scripture. From those people who were of the offspring of Ibrahim and Nuh, from those people were people who were guided by that scripture and those prophets, and others who were defiantly disobedient and they turned far away from it.
ثم قفينا على آثارهم برسلنا وقفينا بعيسى بن مريم وآتيناه الإنجيل وجعلنا في قلوب الذين اتبعوه رأفة ورحمة ورهبانية.
If it's better if you go back to وَجَعَلْنَا.
وَجَعَلْنَا فِي قُلُوبِ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُ رَأْفَةً وَرَحْمَةً وَرَهْبَانِيَّةً ابْتَدَعُوهَا ما كتبناها عليهم إلا ابتغاء رضوان الله فما رأوها حق رعايتها فآتينا الذين آمنوا منهم أجرهم وكثير منهم فاسقون. Then we sent following their footsteps our messengers and followed them with Jesus, the son of Mary, and gave him the gospel. And we placed in the hearts of those who followed him compassion and mercy and
Monasticism.
which they innovated. We did not prescribe it for them except that they did so seeking the approval of Allah, where they did not observe it with due observance. So we gave the ones who believed among them their reward, but many of them were defiantly disobedient.
So after Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned Noah, and Ibrahim, Abraham, and their descendants, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions the last prophet before the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which is Nabiullah Isa, the Prophet of Allah Isa, or Jesus, alayhi salatu wassalam. And we gave him the Injil. The Injil, we said, is not the gospel of today. It's not Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Because the Injil is min kalamillahi azza wa jal. It's Allah's speech. And the gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is not Allah's speech. It's from the recollections of those people, what they wrote about. Like in the Injil is min kalamillahi azza wa jal. Allah sent it down from His kalam. For the Injil of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is not the Injil that is mentioned in the Qur'an. Even if maybe, who knows, is there a part of it included in it or not, but it's the Injil that Allah sent down is Allah's speech that He sent down to Isa. And we placed in the hearts of those who followed Isa, Jesus, compassion and mercy and rahbaniyah. So compassion and mercy we know. Ra'fatan wa rahmah, we know, like they were merciful to each other, they were soft with each other, the followers of Isa. But the followers of Isa added something in that Allah did not tell them to do. And that is rahbaniyah, to be monks. Rahbaniyah is to be a monk, and you lock yourself, or a nun. You lock yourself in the monastery or the nunnery, and you don't get married, and you don't have possessions, you leave your worldly possessions behind. This becoming a monk or a nun, Allah never commanded them to do it. Ibtadi'uha, this is a bid'ah that the Nasara made up. It's an innovation that they made up. They were never ever told to become monks and nuns. But they did it trying to get near to Allah. And they did it, ibtigha'a ridwanillah. They wanted the pleasure of Allah. Then Allah said something profound. فَمَا رَعُوهَا حَقَّ رِعَايَتِهَا. The thing that they did, seeking Allah's pleasure, they didn't do it properly. For you would think that those monks would be, and those people who lock themselves in the monasteries and separate themselves from the people should be the most righteous of the people. Shouldn't it be? Lakin they were fasiqun, many of them were fasiqun. Many of them became more evil by what they did. For first of all, this rahbaniyah was never commanded by Allah. Allah never told them to do it. And it's not part of our religion in Islam that we forbid ourselves from possessions, or forbid ourselves from marriage, or we lock ourselves away from the people and we don't speak to the people and we don't mix with them. That's not part of the religion. But then if they had done so and actually achieved nearness to Allah, then perhaps there would have been something to mention of good about it. Like in many of them, فَمَا رَعُوهَا حَقَّ رِعَايَتِهَا. They didn't do what they were told to do. They were told what they claimed they would do. That this is going to make me near to Allah and this is going to separate me from the world. Like in many of them were tyrants. Many of them did great crimes in their monasteries and their nunneries and whatever else they were in. And many of them committed very great crimes in it. وَكَثِيرٌ مِّنْهُمْ فَاسِقُونَ. And some of them believed, and Allah gave the ones who believed their rewards, but many of them were extremely disobedient. That doesn't just mean from the monks, and from among the Christians. From among the Christians, those who believed in Isa, Allah gave them their reward. And many of them were extremely rebellious.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وآمنوا برسوله يؤتكم كفلين من رحمته ويجعل لكم نورا تمشون به ويغفر لكم والله غفور رحيم. O you who have believed, fear Allah and believe in His Messenger. He will then give you a double portion of His mercy and make for you a light by which you will walk and forgive you, and Allah is forgiving and merciful.
And from those scholars are those who said that this ayah addresses the Jews and Christians, inviting them to believe. يعني يا أيها الذين آمنوا, يعني saying to them, يعني that those who believed in Musa, يعني يا أيها الذين آمنوا بموسى وعيسى, those who believed in Moses and Jesus, believe in Allah and believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah will give you double His mercy. And He will give you a reward for your belief in Jesus and Moses, and He will give you another reward for your belief in Muhammad, peace be upon him. And He will make for you a light. The light here is either the light on Yawm al-Qiyamah, or it's the light of knowledge by which you walk on this earth. وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ, and He will forgive you. And Allah is Ghafurun Rahim. And some of them made it more general, that this is what Allah requires from the believers now. Allah mentioned what happened to the Christians, that they didn't do the job they were supposed to do. They were given mercy and compassion, but they didn't do what they were supposed to do, and many of them became very disobedient. So what is required from you? Ittaqullah. Protect yourself from Allah's punishment. Believe in Allah, believe in the Messenger. If you do this, Allah will give you double a portion of His mercy that was given to Ahl Kitab, the people of the book, and will make for you a light of knowledge or a light of Iman that you will walk with on the Day of Judgment, and He will forgive you, and Allah is forgiving and merciful.
لئلا يعلم أهل الكتاب ألا يقدرون على شيء من فضل الله وأن الفضل بيد الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. This is so that the people of the scripture may know that they are not able to obtain anything from the bounty of Allah, and that all bounty is in the hand of Allah. He gives it to whom He wills, and Allah is the possessor of great bounty.
And this is so the people of the book, from the Jews and Christians, realize that they do not have a guarantee to Allah's mercy or Allah's grace. And some of them used to say like that, we are the chosen people. نحن أبناء الله وأحباؤه. We are Allah's chosen people. We are Allah's beloved people. Allah Azza wa Jal says this is so that the people of the book know you don't have any right to the grace of Allah. Don't think that just because you had this thing that our forefathers or our ancestors believed in Jesus or believed in Moses, that you have a right to Allah's grace. You don't control anything from Allah's grace. But the grace is in the hands of Allah, that He gives to whoever He wants. So if Allah declared that you have to believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and accept Islam, then that's what you have to do. And He gives it to whoever He wills. And Allah is the possessor of great bounty. Meaning, if you turn in Islam and you accept Islam, Allah will give you that bounty and that grace. And if you don't, the fact that you used to believe in Isa will not save you. Or the fact that you used to believe in Musa will not save you. And that brings us to the end of Surah Al-Hadeed. And that brings us to the beginning of the next juz qad sami'. Now, what I'm thinking of is we only have realistically 15 minutes, because time the people start, Asr is still 5:30, right? So by the time people start coming for Asr, I'm a bit reluctant that we start Surah Al-Hashr and Surah Al-Mujadila, that we start Surah Al-Mujadila, and then people start coming for Asr and we only just get through like few ayahs and we have to stop. So I'm thinking it would be a good idea for us to stop here, inshallah ta'ala, and we're going to have the class tomorrow from Dhuhr, inshallah ta'ala, and from 2 p.m. UK time. We'll have it tomorrow as well, inshallah ta'ala, until Asr. So I think it's better for us to stop here and that finished. So now we have how many juz left? 3, right? Juz Qad Sami' and Juz Tabarak and Juz Amma. 3 ajza left. So maybe by tomorrow we could finish half or 3/4 of a juz. Then we could have like just, keep just going every weekend. We do like at least every Saturday. Some Sundays I have classes, so I can't do every Sunday, but some Sundays I have it, some Sundays I don't have it. So when I have the class, we can't do it, but if I don't have the class, then we can try to do it, inshallah ta'ala, until we finish. So we don't have much left to finish, inshallah ta'ala. We have around 60 pages of the Qur'an left to finish, and maybe tomorrow we can finish like 15 or a little bit less than that, inshallah. We see how we go on, inshallah. So that's what Allah Azza wa Jalla made easy to mention. I did say that, inshallah, we will have one more lesson after we finish Juz Amma, where I'll try to go through. I'm not going to be able to answer everybody's questions, but I will try to go through things that we maybe made a mistake in, things we left, things that I said I will get back to you on it. We'll try and go through those things, and I will also look at the most common questions people asked. I will ask the AMAU team to collect for me the most common questions people asked and try to basically tidy up and give the answers to them, inshallah. That will be like a last lesson. So still, we have a few weeks left to go, inshallah ta'ala, before we can finish, because we're only doing it on a Saturday and some Sundays, inshallah. But our next class will be tomorrow, inshallah. That's what Allah Azza wa Jalla made easy for me to mention. And Allah knows best. Wassalatu wassalam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.